After living with my sister, did she fall in love with me? Chapter 1, Your sister is jealous. Phone. Phone. Get up. Early on Saturday morning, still groggy from sleep, I was woken up by a sharp, clear voice. I opened my sleepy eyes, and sure enough, standing in front of me was a familiar face. She was frantically trying to get my pants over my head without looking properly, and I could barely make out who she was. I'm Feng Chen, 25 years old, 182 centimeters tall, from Hangzhou. I went to college at Xiamen University in Fujian, and after graduating, I stayed in Xiamen and worked for a company called Yunji. The beautiful girl in front of me is Feng Wan, 22 years old. She grew up with me, but she's not my biological sister. When I was 8, she was fostered by my parents, who were friends with our neighbors. Her real parents went abroad, and although they visited occasionally in the early years, I haven't seen them since I was about 12 or 13. After that, Feng Wan lived with us, and our family treated her like one of our own. I also saw her as my sister. When I was younger, I asked my parents a few times about her biological parents, but they never said much, and after that, it was never mentioned again. For some reason, perhaps due to her lack of blood ties or maybe because she is sensitive about her own situation, Feng Wan has always been somewhat cold towards me. Our interactions were often full of bickering. Strangely, though, she has always been closer to my parents than I am. They often refer to her as the obedient, sensible girl. Why is your head so big? You can't even put on your clothes properly. Feng Wan complained while she tried to yank the clothes over my head. Hey, little miss. Stop pulling. This is a pair of pants, I can't breathe. I groaned in pain. Feng Wan paused, then pulled the pants off my face. You're so annoying. Why does your head have to be so big? Hurry up and get up. Speechless, I stared at her and asked, what time do you need to leave for school? 10 o'clock, she answered coldly with a frown. What time is it now? 6 o'clock. Why? Sis, it only takes 10 minutes to get to school from here. Why do you have to make me wake up so early? Don't I need to get ready? Feng Wan said, acting like it was obvious, showing no remorse for disturbing my sleep. After I got up and started washing up, I was about to go buy breakfast, and Feng Wan said she was going to take a quick nap for 10 minutes. But, of course, when I returned, she was still asleep. She stayed in bed for another half hour, getting up at 8, and then started putting on makeup and getting ready. I yawned a few times while my blood pressure was rising. Finally, at 9:30, we both left. Today was her graduation ceremony, and I still couldn't understand why, when I was in my senior year, Feng Wan, who was always distant with me but had excellent grades, chose not to listen to my parents and stay in Jiangsu and Zhejiang to attend a better university. Instead, she insisted on coming south to study at Xiamen University with me. Why are you staring at me? Feng Wan suddenly looked up at me and asked. I took a moment to look at her outfit for the day. Her once jet black hair was tied into 2 pigtails, and her big eyes were framed by her delicate, arched eyebrows. With her round face and subtle dimples, she looked very cute. She wore a white sweatshirt with a pattern on it, blue denim shorts, and white sneakers. At 165 centimeters tall, she looked adorable in this outfit. You look a bit good, I said, caught off guard by the question. When I saw her frown, I immediately realized I had been too casual. I quickly added, you're pretty, and your fashion sense is pretty good too. Feng Wan didn't expect me to compliment her. Her face flushed slightly as she muttered, pervert, and then ignored me, walking ahead. Pervert? Who are you calling a pervert? I'm your brother. I snapped. Being your brother doesn't mean you're not a pervert, she retorted without looking back. I could only shake my head and follow her. I haven't been back here in 6 months. Looking at the familiar campus gates, I couldn't help but sigh. Yeah, someone has no heart. Your sister's been in school, but you hardly visit. Feng Wan teased. Come on, except for the last 6 months when I've been traveling a lot for work, which month didn't I come? Mom and Dad always nagged me, worried I'd let some bad person take you away. My ears almost grew calluses. I shook my head and continued, besides, before you, I never knew there were university students who would call their parents. You're something else telling the teacher I'm your dad. Do I look that old? What's worse, that teacher taught me too. Can you get any more outrageous? Feng Wan seemed to feel a little awkward, so she mumbled, I didn't force you to do it. The graduation ceremony was held in the sports center of the university. The campus was bustling with students, and it felt lively. Watching the students come and go, I couldn't help but think, youth is wonderful. Feng Wan muttered, a bunch of little brats, what's so great about it? Senior. While I was observing the students in the gym, a familiar voice called out. I turned around in surprise. Su Qing. I was taken aback when I saw a tall girl. She was Su Qing, a junior from the arts department, someone I had helped out several times when she was in the student council, so she was quite memorable. Senior, is that really you? I thought I might have mistaken you. Su Qing smiled and walked up, clearly happy and surprised. I haven't seen anyone I know for a while. What brings you back? Noticing we were talking, Feng Wan stepped over to my side, looking curious. She stretched out her hand and grabbed my sleeve. Both Su Qing and I exchanged confused looks. Who is this? Su Qing nodded at Feng Wan and asked me. This is my sister, Feng Wan. I'm just here with her for her graduation today, I replied with a smile. What about you? Are you accompanying someone? It's not every day you run into someone you know in college, so I was in a good mood and started chatting. Feng Wan, on the other hand, stayed quiet, standing next to me, giving Su Qing an odd look. I stayed at Xiamen University after graduation. I love it here. I'm now a teaching assistant, Su Qing said with a smile that made her eyes look like crescent moons. Senior, after the ceremony, let me treat you both to dinner. I was about to agree when suddenly Feng Wan tugged at my sleeve. I want kanji for dinner. I stared at her, confused. Kanji? We all know you have a banquet tonight for your graduation. What else with this excuse? Are you trying to make it obvious you want to refuse? Su Qing seemed a little embarrassed and spoke up. Then I'll find a place where we can have kanji. There should be something nearby. Before I could respond, Feng Wan added, I want kanji from home. Su Qing looked a bit awkward now. Feng Wan had already rejected the offer, so she couldn't suggest following me home, could she? Seeing the strange atmosphere, I smiled at Su Qing awkwardly. My sister isn't feeling well today, so maybe another time. I'll treat you when I'm free. That works. Su Qing smiled and then extended her hand toward me. Your phone. Let me leave my number, otherwise, how can you treat me to dinner next time? I took out my phone, and Su Qing didn't hesitate to input her number. After calling herself to make sure it was correct, she handed the phone back to me. Senior, I'm off for the next few weeks, but I have weekends off. You can contact me anytime. All right. We chatted a little more before Su Qing had to leave to assist with the ceremony. Just as she was walking away, she turned back and jogged toward me. Can I speak to you for a minute, just 1 minute? It was addressed to me, but Su Qing's gaze shifted towards Feng Wan, subtly. Feng Wan looked startled but didn't say anything. She let go of my sleeve and stepped about 5 meters away, standing still. Seeing Feng Wan blatantly trying to eavesdrop, I was a little confused, but Su Qing smiled thoughtfully, covering her mouth. Senior, you must remember to contact me. I couldn't find you on your graduation day, and I felt bad for asking others for your contact info. I regretted it for a while. Thankfully, I ran into you today. I smiled and nodded. Su Qing was interesting. Then, Su Qing stepped a little closer and asked in a soft voice, she really is your sister? I nodded, not sure why she asked. She seems a little jealous. Chapter 2, Taking Photos. Jealous? I was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help but shake my head. You're overthinking it. She's really my sister. It's not what you think, Su Qing explained, chuckling. I have a cousin too. When we were little, I would always stick to him. But when I got to high school and saw him getting close to other girls, I did get angry. It wasn't anything else, just the typical jealousy that comes with being a girl. Su Qing smiled brightly and added, by the way, your sister is really pretty, just like you. Both of you have good looks. All right, I'll go now, don't forget to contact me. Listening to her, I couldn't help but smile. Jealous? Would Feng Wan actually feel jealous? No way. What did she say just now? As I watched Su Qing's retreating figure, I suddenly heard Feng Wan's voice. I didn't know when she had snuck up beside me. She just told me to remember to contact her next time and set up a meal. Really? Feng Wan looked skeptical. I didn't expect you to be so good at flirting. Flirting? I'm the one being hit on. Can't you tell? I retorted. Full of yourself, Feng Wan rolled her eyes without caring about her image. I need to find a place to change clothes. The ceremony is about to start. A few moments later, as Feng Wan appeared in her cap and gown, I couldn't help but think back to my own graduation. Lost in thought, two girls walked toward us. Wan. Wei. Anan? Where's Lin Ku? They are on their way, but who is this? The two girls, Wei and Anan, were Feng Wan's roommates, and I had heard her mention them before. Both were stunning, and I couldn't help but wonder if their dorm was assigned based on looks. Feng Chen, my brother. Feng Wan muttered softly. Oh tilde Wei and Anan both stretched the sound in unison, their eyes teasing as they looked at Feng Wan before curiously eyeing me. What is with that expression? Could it be that Feng Wan had been talking bad about me behind my back? Feng Wan's face turned red, seemingly embarrassed by being caught, and she shot them a glare before introducing me. These are my roommates, Chen Yanan and Tang Xinwei. Lin Ku will join us later. Hello, senior. Wan always mentions you. We never got to meet when you visited before, but it's nice to finally meet you. One of the girls reached out to shake my hand, and the other nodded with a smile. After briefly exchanging pleasantries with the girls, an announcement came over the loudspeaker for the graduates to gather in the gymnasium as the ceremony was about to begin. Since non-graduates weren't allowed in, Feng Wan left with her roommates, and I wandered the campus to reminisce. Walking up the familiar path past the Xinshan building, the sports field, the Peach Heart Lake, and the dorms and cafeterias, I couldn't help but stop by my old dorm. I couldn't resist going upstairs for a look. When I reached the door of room 506, it was open, and a few younger boys were inside. Seeing a stranger, they asked, "Who are you looking for?" Wrong room, I smiled and said. After about an hour of wandering, I got a call from Feng Wan. Where are you? Are you worried I'm going to get lost? I know this place better than you, even with my eyes closed. I responded, a little annoyed. Stop boasting. Hurry up and come to the playground. We need to take photos. I'm not graduating, so I'm not taking photos. Are you stupid? You're the one taking them for us. In the end, after her repeated requests, I reluctantly made my way to the playground. By the time I arrived, in addition to Feng Wan and her two roommates, there was also another girl, probably Lin Ku, whom they had mentioned earlier. I gave the playground a quick glance, and honestly, these four girls would probably turn heads wherever they went. Senior, please. Tang Xinwei, a bit too familiar, shoved a camera into my hands and immediately started posing with Feng Wan and the others. At first, Feng Wan was a little shy and reserved, but as her roommates led her, she began making funny faces and even pulling silly poses. Since I had been part of the photography club in college, I considered myself reasonably good at taking pictures. As a result, other students came by to take group photos with me, or asked me to be their photographer, and I agreed without hesitation. As I was taking a picture of Feng Wan and another student, a boy appeared in my line of sight. He walked straight toward Feng Wan, holding a bouquet of flowers. Feng Wan, here, this is for you. I have something I want to say to you since it's your graduation today. That's when I noticed there was also a letter with the flowers. A confession. Huh? Feng Wan, still clueless, looked confused. She didn't take the flowers but instinctively glanced at me. No, it's fine. Thank you. We're graduating soon, it's just a bouquet. The boy was persistent. Feng Wan, who usually had a bit of social anxiety around strangers, remained silent, only staring at me. When she saw me just standing there like a bystander, her expression turned a little unhappy. Then, without warning, she walked toward me. Before I had time to figure out what was going on, she hooked her arm around mine. Zhang Yao, I appreciate the gesture, but I can't accept the flowers. I'm afraid he won't be happy. With that, she gave me a subtle nod, as if showing off. Is she using me as a shield? The boy froze. I didn't know you were dating. Yes. Yes. Before the boy could finish, Feng Wan nodded seriously, though I noticed her ears turning slightly red. A moment later, the boy, clearly unwilling, left with a frustrated expression. Once he was gone, Feng Wan immediately let go of my arm and whispered, "Don't get any weird ideas." What? I didn't quite catch that. Seeing my confusion, Feng Wan got even angrier. She stomped on my foot and gave me a fierce glare. HMPH. As I stood there feeling utterly confused, Tang Xinwei and Chen Yanan walked over. Wan, do you want to take a photo with your brother? Yeah, Wan, you can send the photos to your parents afterward, Lin Ku added. Clearly still upset, Feng Wan didn't speak, but she shot me a look before turning away. Her roommates, looking helpless, turned to me for help. Fine. Our parents haven't seen your photos in a while anyway. Feng Wan didn't move, but Tang Xinwei, being tactful, pushed her in front of me. If it weren't for Mom and Dad, I wouldn't want to take a photo with you. Feng Wan suddenly muttered. I chuckled and looked at her. Feng Wan glanced at me but quickly looked away, muttering under her breath. I just don't want to take photos with you. All right. I know. I'm the worst, you can stop now. Her childish behavior made me laugh. Wan, stand closer, smile. Tang Xinwei directed, and after the photo was taken, Feng Wan immediately ran over to check the result. In the photo, she was standing in front of me, flashing a peace sign and smiling sweetly. It actually turned out quite well. As Feng Wan stared at the picture, lost in thought, I thought we were done. But then Lin Ku spoke up. The photo doesn't look that great. Wei, is your camera broken? Huh? Oh, yeah, it seems like there's an issue. Wan, senior, let us take a few more. Seeing the mischievous looks on their faces, I couldn't help but grumble. Are they trying to fool me? Just when I thought Feng Wan would refuse, she glared at her three roommates, then turned to me and said seriously, it doesn't look good. Let us retake it. Chapter 3, Drunk Feng Wan. In the end, seeing the seriousness on her face, and not wanting to expose her while also not fully understanding the situation, I reluctantly nodded and agreed. Senior, move a bit closer to Wan, come on, don't be so stiff. Put your arm around her shoulders, don't just stand there. Wan, why are you so tense? Relax your expression, don't look so serious. It's your brother, not your enemy. Smile a bit, yes, lean your head on senior's shoulder, come on, hurry up. At the request of her roommates and her own consent, the two of us took more than 10 photos in different poses and styles, some cute and some more serious. As for Feng Wan, I wasn't sure if it was because she'd never been in such close contact with me before, but she was blushing and looked awkward, though she didn't complain. It seemed like this was the first time we'd taken so many pictures together since we were kids. After taking photos for nearly an hour, we had a simple lunch in the cafeteria. In the afternoon, some professors and other classmates were busy taking group photos, so I didn't stay any longer. I agreed to meet Feng Wan after her graduation party and take her home later. I went home, took a nap, and woke up around 5 p.m. Opening my phone, I had a friend request on WeChat. The verification message simply said, Suqing. I accepted the request, and Suqing immediately sent a cute cartoon emoji. Senior, it took you forever to accept. I thought you were just brushing me off. No, I was really tired and just woke up from a nap. MMHM. I chatted briefly with Suqing to say hello and then went downstairs for dinner. After dinner, I went for a walk along the beach, watching couples, elderly people strolling, young people walking their dogs, and parents with their kids. It made me realize that even a quiet, simple life had its own kind of charm. On the beach, I encountered some young people starting a bonfire, and a student-like boy was playing guitar and singing. I sat down on a nearby step and stayed there for a while, enjoying the youthful atmosphere. By around 8 p.m., I texted Feng Wan, what time does the party end? I'll come pick you up early. But half an hour passed, and there was no reply. I knew her personality, and with a few roommates around, there shouldn't be any trouble. But was she really caught up in the party? Finally, around 9 p.m., an unfamiliar number called. It wasn't a number I recognized, so I didn't answer. But right after hanging up, the number called again. Senior. As soon as I picked up, the noisy background became clear. Hello, who is this? Senior, it's Hangzhou. We met earlier today, came their voice, seeming to be in a crowded place. Sorry, it's too noisy on your end, I couldn't hear clearly. I'm out now, it's better. Senior, Wan's drunk, she doesn't even recognize me now. Can you come pick her up? We're at the Happy Star KTV on Lianhua Road. Feng Wan's drunk. After hanging up, I immediately got in the car. When I arrived, I saw 3 girls standing on the side of the road, and Feng Wan was sitting on the curb, head down. As soon as they saw me, the 3 girls waved their hands. Senior, over here. Wan, wake up, look who's here. Hangzhou shook Feng Wan and patted her face. Feng Wan slowly raised her head with dazed eyes, her face slightly red from crying. She stared at me for a long time before speaking. Who are you? Har. The other roommates couldn't hold back their laughter. Before I could say anything, Feng Wan continued, how come you look just like that annoying guy, Feng Chen? I bent down and pinched her ear, applying a little pressure. Come on, say it again. Who's annoying and who am I? Ow. Ow. Let go. Feng Wan quickly stood up, unsteady, and then blinked a few times before saying, oh, it's you. Let me tell you, there was a guy who looked exactly like you, and he twisted my ear. Woo-woo. I couldn't help but twitch my mouth. How much did she drink? Not wanting to continue teasing their little drunkard, I decided to drive them all back to school first and then take Feng Wan home. During the ride, Feng Wan was lying on Hangzhou's lap in the backseat, holding onto Chen Yanan's hands. All of them seemed a little down. As lively as the graduation party had been, it was just as lonely when it ended. No wonder they had drunk so much. It's a common feeling during graduation season, nostalgia and reluctance to part ways. After dropping off Feng Wan's 3 roommates at the dorm, I got back in the car and looked at Feng Wan, who had switched to the passenger seat and was sleeping soundly. It was a little funny. It took about 40 minutes to get home, and she was still asleep. I called her name a couple of times, but she didn't respond. I pinched her nose, and in less than 3 seconds, Feng Wan frowned in her sleep, reached up to push my hand away, and mumbled something. Then, just as quickly, she tilted her head and went back to sleep. Helpless, I had to help her out of the car, closed the door, and slowly carried her on my back to their house. Thankfully, she stayed still and didn't cause any trouble. She just quietly rested on my back, with her arms instinctively wrapped around my neck. Her small frame wasn't heavy, but the intimate position made me realize she was really growing up. I shook my head self-deprecatingly. She's your sister. What are you thinking? I carried Feng Wan for about 10 minutes before feeling a bit tired. I adjusted my position to take a rest, but when I turned around, I met her gaze. In the darkness, under the streetlight, Feng Wan's bright eyes locked onto mine. For a moment, we both fell into silence. What are you doing? I couldn't help but speak first. Nothing. Feng Wan answered softly. Are you crazy? You wake up and don't say anything, making me carry you for so long. Feels bad, I don't want to talk. I was speechless. Hurry up and get down, I'm exhausted. I don't want to tell her I feel sick. Don't move, Feng Wan said in a cold tone, and then shifted slightly, hold me steady. If I fall, I'll tell Dad and Mom you bullied me. Can you be more shameless? Why not? Feng Wan's voice was much softer this time. We stayed quiet for a moment. Seeing that she was determined to act like this, I continued to adjust her legs. Hold on tight, don't move. Millimeter tilde, Feng Wan responded quietly, then wrapped her arms tightly around my neck. After a few steps, she mumbled softly to herself, I only dare to do this when I'm drunk. What did you say? I didn't catch that. Nothing. Feng Wan tightened her grip on me, then slowly rested her head on my shoulder. Chapter 4, Living Together. Here we are, get down. After finally carrying her home, I was about to collapse from exhaustion when I placed her on the couch. It felt like my back was about to break. I couldn't help but tease, I didn't expect you to be this heavy. If you gained 20 more pounds, would weigh the same. Still slightly dazed but a little more sober, Feng Wan looked at me, confused, and then quickly realized what I said. She grabbed a pillow from the couch and threw it at me. You're only 140 pounds. I'm just 100. She paused mid-sentence, glaring at me fiercely. I knew you were lying. Who was saying they weighed just 90-something earlier? I said, laughing. Caught in her own lie, Feng Wan fell silent, then quickly changed her story. I was 90-something before, but I ate too much tonight, so now I weigh 100 pounds. It doesn't count. I didn't call her out on her nonsense but still said, girls shouldn't be too thin. A girl with a bit of meat on her is healthier, more normal, and also more likable. To my surprise, Feng Wan didn't argue. She whispered, really? Yeah, I replied seriously. Why would I lie to you? Being too thin is really not good. She didn't say anything further, but it seemed like she was pondering whether what I said was true. How about you? After a short while, Feng Wan sat up and looked at me. Huh? What about me? Do you like girls who are like the one you just described? Feng Wan asked, her eyes a mix of curiosity and seriousness. Well, yeah, I don't like girls who are too skinny, I answered. Why? Are you starting to gather information about your future sister-in-law? Feng Wan didn't answer right away. She slowly stood up and walked towards the bathroom. Before she left, she grabbed a stuffed toy off the couch, threw it, and muttered, what kind of doll is this? It's like a block of wood. It hurts. Picking up the unfortunate toy, I couldn't help but remark, drunk and crazy. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. I leaned back on the couch, trying to rest, and casually turned on the TV. A few minutes later, I heard a soft door creak open, followed by Feng Wan's voice, can you help me with something? I looked back, and there she was, with wet hair, her head peeking out from the bathroom door, showing half of her shoulder. What are you doing? I quickly turned away. Was she treating me like a normal guy instead of her brother? Although we usually refer to each other as siblings, Feng Wan's behavior made me feel a little uncomfortable. What's wrong? She asked, her voice unchanged, as if her actions were totally normal. Was it me thinking too much? You're really drunk. Tell me, what's going on? Oh. I forgot my clothes. Can you grab them for me? Clothes? Your underwear. I was a little surprised. Feng Wan went silent for a moment before answering, stop pretending, they are on the balcony. Forget it, I'll go back to my room and shut the door. You can get them yourself. I immediately refused. You're so annoying. I just finished showering. How can I go out and get them? Feng Wan complained. You're my brother, what are you afraid of? Her words caught me off guard. She was right. After all, we were siblings. What was I overthinking? I silently comforted myself and walked towards the balcony. Far left, hidden between the shirt and pants. Also, my pajamas are there, Feng Wan's voice came through. Hidden. She was still shy. I grabbed the clothes off the hanger. Holding them in my hands, they felt like two burning hot potatoes. I quickly went to the bathroom door. Hearing the sound, Feng Wan opened the door a crack, took the underwear and pajamas from me without a word, and turned to leave. About 20 minutes later, after she had finished drying her hair and changed into her pajamas, Feng Wan came back to the couch. Are you still meeting your classmates in Xiamen? Or are you staying a few more days? I tried to break the awkward silence by bringing up a random topic. Staying a few more days. Feng Wan tilted her head, looking at me as she played with her hair. Didn't Mom and Dad tell you? Mom and Dad? Tell me what? I asked, confused. I discussed it with Mom and Dad. I'm not going back to Hangzhou. Not going back. Feng Wan's words hit me like a thunderclap. I raised my voice a few notches. You're staying in Xiamen. Do you not want me to stay? Feng Wan's face suddenly turned cold, and she glared at me. Who said I didn't want you to stay? Did Mom and Dad agree? I asked, feeling guilty, but trying to mask it. How could they let her stay with me in Xiamen? Wouldn't the family go crazy? Yeah, Mom said she didn't feel comfortable with me living on my own. So, I'm staying with you. Are you unhappy? No. Then why do you look like you ate a lemon? No. Then why aren't you smiling? Is it because you don't like to smile? After mocking me, Feng Wan hummed a song and arrogantly went back to the room that was supposed to be a temporary stay. It looked like I was no longer going to have that room. As soon as she went back, I went to the balcony, locked the door, and called Dad. Dad, still awake? Not yet. Why? Thought of calling me tonight. Didn't Xiamen have her graduation ceremony today? She was talking about a dinner with her classmates, and tomorrow she'll show your mom and me some photos and videos. Dad, just now Xiamen said she's not going back after graduation, that she discussed it with you and Mom. I probed. Yeah, she mentioned it a few days ago, and she said she talked to you about it too. Why, is something wrong? Dad responded calmly. She talked to me about it. Was she playing both sides? Will it be inconvenient for her to stay in Xiamen? Inconvenient? You mean me and your mom, or you? Dad asked. Before I could answer, he added, have you found a girlfriend? No. Then what are you worried about? Dad sighed. Xiamen has grown up. She has her own thoughts. Although your mom will miss her, it's good for her to go out and experience the world. Besides, at least she'll have someone to take care of her if she stays with you, and will feel more at ease. Could it be? Did my parents really agree to this? What were they thinking? Was I going to live with her? With Feng Wan? Just as I was about to try and talk Dad out of this, I heard a loud knock on the door. Feng Wan had somehow come to the balcony, looking at me suspiciously, and mouthed, Dad? Mom. I nodded helplessly. Feng Wan gestured for me to open the door, snatched the phone from my hand, and said, Dad tilde, do you miss me? After grabbing the phone, she quickly transformed from the girl who usually bickers with me to a sweet little girl talking to Dad. She chatted with Dad for a while, and then suddenly, after hearing something from Dad, she looked at me, her face slightly flushed. She quickly turned away and whispered into the phone, Hey, Dad, I know, don't say anything weird. Okay, bye. Seeing her expression, I couldn't help but ask, what did Dad say to you? Her face turned even redder. She shoved the phone back at me and muttered, Mind your own business. Eavesdropping on other people's calls, how shameless. Eavesdrop. You were the one with your ear practically glued to the door, I thought, but didn't say it aloud. Chapter 5, Personal Belongings. On Sunday, I was lucky enough not to be woken up early. I slept in until after 8 o'clock. When I walked into the living room, I could hear laughter coming from Feng Wan's room. She must have been video chatting with my parents, talking about yesterday's graduation ceremony. After a while, Feng Wan came out of her room, her hair in a messy bun. She spotted the breakfast I had left on the table and casually grabbed a piece of bread and stuffed it into her mouth. Come with me today, Feng Wan mumbled while chewing the bread. I have plans today. Plans? Meeting with that girl, the senior from yesterday. Feng Wan raised an eyebrow and paused to look at me. No, my college roommate is getting married next week. He's asked me to help out today, getting ready to be his best man, I casually replied. Best man? You're going to be a best man? Feng Wan's eyes widened in disbelief. What's wrong with that? Is it illegal? I scratched my chin, a bit surprised by her reaction. Normally, I'm pretty confident in my appearance, but now I was starting to second-guess myself. No, it's not illegal. Feng Wan answered, then a sly look passed across her face. I'm going too. You? What are you going to do there? Scrounge free food and drinks. You're the one who is scrounging. Feng Wan punched me lightly, then added, I'm not talking about today. I'm going when you're actually a best man. So, you're just going to eat and drink again. I looked at her, and she gave me a death glare. I quickly corrected myself, but you don't even know them. Excuses. Don't I have the right to meet people? Or am I embarrassing you? Seeing that she was getting a little upset, I quickly said, Fine, I'll take you out to see the world. It's next Saturday, so prepare yourself. When I agreed, Feng Wan's expression softened a little. Remember to remind me, just in case I forget. After Feng Wan finished washing up and didn't he even bother to say goodbye, she left. I didn't ask where she was going. By the time I left around noon, I saw two familiar figures from a distance, standing together. Director Yang. I walked up and slapped the man on the shoulder. He finally noticed me. Damn, it's been a few months and you've gotten even better looking. You're about to catch up with me. You're just being vain. A woman next to him slapped his arm playfully, then greeted me. This guy is Yang Fei, a local from Xiamen, my college roommate, and one of my best friends. After graduation, he worked for the local government, earning the nickname Director Yang. The woman with him is his girlfriend, Bai Ju, whom he started dating in college. You two have been hiding it well, suddenly announcing your marriage half a month ago. I sat down and looked at the pair of beaming faces. It was clear they were excited. We've been together for a long time, it just happened naturally. Yang Fei chuckled, besides, you can't drive without a license forever. Bai Ju hooked her arm through his, smiling as she looked at me. Stop teasing us. What about you? You've been silent since that girl back in college. What, planning to become a monk? Hearing that, a certain girl's image popped into my mind. I briefly spaced out, then smiled self-deprecatingly before replying, not becoming a monk, just going with the flow, depending on fate. By the way, how did you two notify everyone about the wedding? Of course, we've told everyone, but since the distance is a bit far, you're the first one to come. We've also picked the other two groomsmen, Li Xing and Fang Wan. Think about it, with the four of us on stage, we'll be the Fujian F4. Bai Ju rolled her eyes at Yang Fei, then said, the bridesmaids are my best friends, and they are all pretty. One of them will come the day before their wedding. Would you be interested? Seeing the flirtatious look in their eyes, I quickly stopped them. Enough, stop worrying about that. I'm here to be your groomsman, not to flirt with anyone. You two should focus on your wedding arrangements first. Seeing them both look at me as if I were hopeless, I changed the topic. By the way, when you two get married, is it possible to add another name to the guest list? I'll be bringing someone. Huh. They looked at me with confusion. A woman. I couldn't help but laugh at their misunderstanding. My sister. TCH. I thought you finally figured things out. Yang Fei shook his head. The three of us continued chatting, with Yang Fei and Bai Ju filling me in on their wedding plans. We didn't finish until after 3 p.m. When I got home, Feng Wan still hadn't returned. She was probably at school. After a quick nap on the couch, I heard a loud knocking at the door. I opened the door and looked through the peephole, but couldn't see anyone. Instead, there was a large cardboard box blocking the view. Who is it? Hello. There was no answer. It didn't take much to guess only Feng Wan would be so rude. I opened the door, and sure enough, there was a thud as the box was dropped. Two eyes glared at me angrily. HMPH. Took you so long to open the door. Are you trying to kill me? Who didn't answer the door for so long? How am I supposed to know if you're a criminal? I grumbled. If I were a criminal, I would fought you already. Feng Wan threw her arms up, pouting as she walked in. Move my stuff in. I can't carry it anymore. Looking outside, I saw several bags and boxes scattered on the ground. Did you carry all of this? Who else? I can't rely on you. Seeing her sitting on the couch, massaging her legs and shoulders, I guessed she must have been pretty tired. No wonder she was so snarky. I began unpacking her things and asked, should I help you organize these? Since my attitude wasn't bad, Feng Wan didn't snap at me as much. Just take everything out except the blue box and that bag with clothes, you can unpack the rest. After a bit of organizing, I started pulling things out as requested, placing them neatly. Why are you still carrying these books from graduation? I've had them for so long, I'm attached to them. Is that a problem? Really? You're still playing with dolls. Also, this ugly blue turtle is too much. Don't you have eyes? That S-stitch. What's this? Why bring such a big cactus back when you're moving? I'll poke you with it. We were busy for nearly an hour, finally almost done. The last blue box and cloth bag remained. I assumed the cloth bag probably contained her personal clothing, so I went to grab it. When I reached the blue box, Feng Wan suddenly shrieked and dashed barefoot towards me to stop me. Confused, I looked at her, and it was clear she was nervous. "I'll handle this one myself." Her reaction made me even more curious. I looked down at the blue box. In the next moment, Feng Wan, who had been complaining about back pain, suddenly had the strength to pick up the box and rush to her room with it. She came back out and quickly closed the door behind her, as if she were trying to keep her secret hidden. Seeing me still standing there, she blushed slightly. "That's my personal stuff." I couldn't help but be curious. Personal stuff is personal stuff, but why the blush? This girl, who didn't hesitate to let me grab her underwear, was suddenly shy about something? What other personal belongings could she possibly be embarrassed about? Chapter 6 Female version of Gangster. Finally, Feng Wan, who didn't say a word, found an excuse to change the topic, and returned to the sofa, occupying most of the sofa. After a moment of silence, Feng Wan said again, "Add a chair to the study." After a pause, I nodded. I had already agreed to let her move in, so it didn't matter if I was occupied by a study. I opened my phone and bought a mid to high-end gaming chair online. After all, it was really comfortable, and I contacted the merchant. There was a store nearby, and it could be delivered in the evening. "Okay, it will arrive before 8 p.m. So fast. You didn't buy me a small plastic stool, did you?" Feng Wan said in surprise. I was too lazy to explain to this girl, so I sent the link directly to her. She read it over and over for a long time, and then checked a lot of comments. Finally, 2 words popped out of her mouth: "Not bad." It was past 5 o'clock in the evening. I looked at Feng Wan, who was still on the sofa, and said, "What do you want to eat tonight?" "Cook at home." Sure enough, I couldn't escape the fate of being a servant for this girl. After all, it was the first day of moving in, so I treated it as a welcome party. I walked to the kitchen. "What do you want to eat?" Who knew that this girl suddenly reached out and grabbed me, then got up and walked into the kitchen. "Today, I saw that you worked hard to move, and you gave me such a beautiful chair. Your overall attitude is okay. I will cook tonight, Tilda." My surprise was no less than this girl's sudden proposal to stay in Xiamen. "Cook? Feng Wan?" Seeing me standing there in a daze, the girl rolled her eyes at me. "Why? Are you afraid that I will poison you?" No, I shook my head quickly, but I still said truthfully, "I'm surprised. I didn't know you could cook before. I didn't expect you to ask to cook. There are still many things you don't know." Tilda wouldn't head. "Come and help tie it." Feng Wan curled her lips, holding a pot cover in one hand and the apron in the kitchen that was obviously one size larger in the other hand, and said to me. Walking up to her, the girl lowered her head, put the tie behind her neck, and then asked her to turn around and tie it behind her. "And the hair?" After I tied the apron, Feng Wan raised her wrist, and I pulled off the small rubber band on her wrist helplessly and helped her tie her hair into a bun. Living with this girl since childhood, the skills of tying shoelaces and tying hair have long been perfect. After everything was ready, the girl immediately turned her face and refused to recognize me, pushing me out the door and saying, "Get out quickly, don't stand here, it will affect my performance." I was sitting on the sofa and not interested in watching TV. I looked back at the girl busy in the kitchen. The little girl who used to cry and wipe her nose has really grown up. About an hour later, Feng Wan brought the prepared dinner to the table. Braised prawns, sweet and sour pork ribs, and a vegetarian dish plus soup. "What are you standing there for? Are you scared?" Seeing my shocked look, the girl said. "When did you learn it? How come I don't know it?" I remember that when I just graduated 3 years ago, the girl couldn't even make the simplest egg fried rice. This girl is gifted, these dishes are easy to make. Although she still had a stern face, even a blind person could see that the corners of her mouth were full of smiles, and she couldn't help but be proud. "Let me try it." I picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece of pork ribs and put it in my mouth. Feng Wan, who was standing opposite me, stared at me nervously, watching my reaction carefully, and asked in a low voice, "How is it?" I didn't answer, and immediately picked up another shrimp, peeled it and tasted it. "How is it, are you mute?" Seeing that I didn't say anything, Feng Wan was a little anxious. I looked up at her, and then slowly raised my thumb. You are good, the taste is the same as mom's, it is really delicious. It's not a compliment. There are several people in the family who cook, and mom has always been the best cook, with good color, fragrance and taste. The dishes made by this girl today are almost the same as mom's, and the level is far beyond the average small restaurant. Hearing this, the girl couldn't help it anymore, her face was full of smiles, and then she picked up several more pieces of ribs and shrimps for me with chopsticks. Eat more. That's enough, I can't eat any more. Seeing that the bowl was immediately piled up into a small mountain, I hurriedly said. Feng Wan then realized that she was indeed too enthusiastic, so she put the dishes she had already picked up into her own bowl and ate them in small bites, but she kept looking up at me. Is there a word on my face? I couldn't help asking. R? Oh, no. Feng Wan said in a panic, and then buried her head in her food. This girl was very abnormal today. After dinner, I went to wash the dishes. This girl leaned against the kitchen door and looked at me without saying a word. Can you please stop standing behind me? I always feel like there's something fishy behind me when I wash the dishes, I said. Hearing this, Feng Wan came over and kicked me in a rage, then left in anger. She was still cursing as she walked away, saying things like, wooden, destroying the atmosphere, you deserve it. Since this incident, Feng Wan didn't say a word to me for the next few hours. When she got the express delivery of the chair at night, this girl carried it up by herself out of anger. I just watched TV on the sofa and ignored her. Afterwards, this lady assembled the gaming chair in the living room by herself. She had been patching together for half an hour but still couldn't finish it. Finally, seeing that she was about to cry, I pretended not to care and said, go and help me get a cup of water. I'm too lazy to leave. I'll assemble the chair for you. Feng Wan stood up and wiped his face, kicked the sofa angrily, then walked into the kitchen and closed the door. I stood up and walked to the chair. Looking at the chair that was assembled in the wrong place, I couldn't help laughing. I dismantled the wrong place, glanced at the instruction manual, and then spent 10 minutes to assemble the chair. Just as I stood up, Feng Wan, who had been in the kitchen for more than 10 minutes, came out again and brought a glass of water. I took it, and it was cold. Looking at Feng Wan, who was angry and wanted to retaliate against me, I still didn't say anything and raised my hand to drink. You really want to drink? Seeing that I didn't expose her and she really wanted to drink, Feng Wan got anxious and grabbed my arm. Didn't you notice it was cold? What if you have a stomachache? Then, the girl took back the cup, went into the kitchen and poured another cup of boiling water, and put it on the coffee table for fear of scalding. The chair is ready for you, try it, I'm going to the study. Every night when I have nothing to do, I will read in the study. I have developed this habit since college. I just went to the study and picked up a copy of Cai Gentan when I heard a harsh hissing sound. I looked back and saw Feng Wan pushing her chair in. The girl was still angry and didn't say anything. She pushed a few of my books on the desk over, then went out to get her cartoon teacup and porcelain spoon, a pack of milk tea, an iPad, and put them on the desk one by one. What are you doing? I was full of black lines. Studying. Feng Wan said expressionlessly, then made a cup of milk tea, opened the pad, clicked on a cartoon, and turned up the volume to the maximum. The desk is so spacious, it's not just yours. Ruffian. It's just a robe. I thought to myself. Seeing the aunt's robe posture, I had to turn sideways, put on headphones and ignore her. Seeing that I ignored her, she moved the chair back again, and the next second, a pair of legs were on my legs. Chapter 7 Su Qing has an appointment. Looking at the slender and white calves in front of me, I was stunned for a moment. Take it off quickly, what are you talking about? What's the big deal, wasn't it the same at home before? How can it be the same? What Feng Wan said about the past at home refers to the time before she went to high school. At that time, Feng Wan, who could still be called a brat, was spoiled by her parents at home. When watching TV in winter, she couldn't stand the cold feet, so she stretched her feet to me and asked me to cover them. If I didn't agree, this girl would cry and make a fuss, which was very annoying. That was 800 years ago. Can it be the same now? Why is it different? You were a brat back then, and now you are such a big girl, aren't you ashamed? It's obviously you who is stingy. Feng Wan retorted, while trying hard to prevent me from moving her legs down. It was okay before, why not now? Then I used to take a bath with you when we were kids. Why don't you say it now? In a hurry, I blurted out what I said without thinking, and Feng Wan and I were stunned after I said it. The girl's face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally even her ears turned red. Just when I felt something was wrong and wanted to run away, the girl stood up and punched me on the shoulder. You bastard! You pervert! I'll beat you to death! I'll beat you to death! I quickly explained with my hands protecting my head. I was just making an analogy. I'm not really going to take a bath with you. You're still talking. I'll beat you to death. The stinky girl was already killing and didn't listen to anything I said. About 3 minutes later, the stinky girl was panting after being tired, and finally glared at me, and left with a red face and puffy. Just when I thought I would wait for the girl to calm down and explain, the little girl came in again. Just when I thought she wanted to score twice and punch me again, the girl passed by me and glared at me fiercely, then took back the milk tea and pad, and left again. Rubbing my shoulders, I shook my head. Childish Tilda, I really haven't grown up. Whose grown-up girl would be beaten by her brother for no reason, right? Fortunately, this girl stopped harassing me after she got shy. She closed the door of the study and read quietly. After about half an hour, I received a message from Suqing. Senior, are you asleep? Not yet. Didn't you go out to play today? No, I helped my sister move. You have a good relationship with your sister. I envy you. What about you? I asked back. I went to the beach today. Suqing just finished speaking and sent another selfie. In the photo, Suqing and a girl were at the beach, making faces on the left and right while taking selfies. They looked playful and cute. Perhaps she felt embarrassed, so Suqing immediately withdrew. It's pretty, why do you want to withdraw it? Which one is better, the one on the left or the one on the right? I'm talking about the sea, what are you asking about? After half a minute, I received 2 words from Suqing, hate. I didn't reply again. After a few minutes, Suqing sent a message, I'm going to wash up and get ready to rest. Good night, senior. In my opinion, Suqing's personality is pretty good. We used to deal with each other because of the student union in college and we know each other well. This time, with me, I can guess a little bit of her thoughts, but I don't have much time and thought about it at the moment. Sweet dreams. I replied simply. I read until almost 10:30. I have to go to work tomorrow, so I'm going to go back to my room to sleep early. Walking into the living room, there was a cup of steaming milk on the table. It was in my cup, and it was obviously poured not long ago. Looking at Feng Wan's closed door, I smiled and took the milk back to the room. Just after I finished drinking milk and lay down, I vaguely heard the sound of the door of the next room opening, but there was no footsteps coming to the living room. This girl, is she confirming whether I have drunk milk? She hasn't changed at all, just like before, cold outside and warm inside, just like a chocolate-flavored snowy mooncake, cold outside, soft and sweet inside. In this way, I suddenly felt that having one more person in the suite was not as bad as I worried. I don't know if it's because of the milk or just a psychological effect, but I feel like I fall asleep very quickly. It was already 6 o'clock the next morning when I opened my eyes again. The working time was 8:30. After washing up, I hurried downstairs to buy breakfast. Feng Wan has been picky about food since she was a child, so I had to walk far to the supermarket to buy the brand of bread and milk she has always loved. In addition, knowing the time of her alarm clock, I set the time and prepared an omelette, which she could eat just when she got up. After preparation, I left a note and went out. Within half an hour of driving to the company, as soon as I entered the company, the girl at the front desk greeted me with a smile. Brother Chen, you come so early again. Yes, I don't sleep well when I'm old, unlike an 18-year-old girl like you who can fall asleep as soon as she touches the pillow. I joked. When I said she was 18 years old, the girl looked at me with a smile, but soon realized that I was teasing her about falling asleep on the pillow at the front desk during work last week, so she rolled her eyes at me embarrassedly, which made me laugh. After entering the office, I turned on the computer and watered a pot of Brazilian wood on my desk that had not sprouted for 3 years. Seeing that the weather was good, I opened the curtains a little. The company is located on the seaside of Xiamen District, which is considered a core area on Xiamen Island. It is only more than a block away from Gulanyu Island, and the environment is very good. Brother Chen, your habit of arriving early and leaving late is not good. While I was stunned, another colleague from the department walked into the office. In the anti-Japanese war era, people who are as active as you are either Lei Feng or spies. That's unfortunate. I don't have the awareness and realm of Lei Feng. I worked overtime for a few days last week because I had to rush the project. I'm too lazy to roll up. I replied with a smile. That's right. Liu Yang patted my shoulder, otherwise, you will put pressure on everyone. We can't be exploited by capitalists for nothing. Well said. A woman's voice came while Liu Yang was talking. Print out your words and frame them, and hang them on the wall of the company in the future. Don't worry, sister, I'm just kidding. This is a private conversation behind closed doors. There is no reason to spread it outside. Liu Yang saw the person coming and walked over very flatteringly, took the bag from the woman and then went to get a cup of coffee. The woman's name is Liu Shu. Her exact age is unknown, but she is definitely under 30. We usually call her Sister Liu. She has a pretty face and strong business ability. She is also the leader of our department. No wonder Liu Yang immediately changed his face. After all, jokes are jokes, but you can't offend the leader. You can continue to talk nonsense. If someone outside hears this, I will have to take the lead in seeing you off. Sister Liu said lightly, which was a joke and a reminder. Not that, I know it. Liu Yang said quickly. Our department is relatively idle in the whole company, but as far as I know, the salary and benefits are only higher than those of other departments, which can easily cause dissatisfaction in other departments. Because I just finished a project, I don't have much work at hand for the time being. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was already drinking coffee and waiting to get off work. Then I received another message from Su Qing. Are you busy today? If you get off work early, how about having dinner together? Sure. Just as I was about to ask her to send me her location, I saw her reply, okay, I get off work at 5:30, I'll go to Lujian Road. How do you know where I am? I saw your Moments and knew you worked there. Moments? I thought about it, the last Moments related to the company was almost a year ago. Okay. I replied without thinking too much. Yeah, see you then. Chapter 8 Dinner. I left just after get off work and sent a text message to Feng Wan to tell her I would not go back for dinner. I crossed the road to the beach and sent Su Qing a location. In less than 20 minutes, I saw Su Qing, who was obviously dressed up, get out of the car and wave at me. You moved quickly. No one said you left early. No way Tilder, Su Qing smiled embarrassedly, it's college, the leaders and teachers are relatively tolerant and easy to get along with. What do you want to eat? I'll find a place. I asked you, I'll treat you. There is a Nanyang restaurant nearby. My friend said the taste is good, and the environment is very good with a full sea view. I have always wanted to try it. Su Qing looked at me expectantly. Okay. It's not far away, and it's hard to find a parking space at the end of get off work, so Su Qing suggested walking from the beach. Senior, I thought you went back to Hangzhou, but I didn't expect you to stay in Xiamen for so long. Su Qing said as she stepped back on the sand with her hands behind her back. Xiamen is pretty good. I've been in a city for 4 years, so I still have feelings for it. So I discussed with my family and decided to stay here first. Oh, I thought. Seeing Su Qing hesitate to speak, I couldn't help but look at her curiously. I thought it was because of Chen Milan. Seeing that there was nothing unusual in my expression, Su Qing immediately added, I was just guessing. Senior, don't be angry. It happened many years ago. I can't remember it clearly. Su Qing stuck out her tongue cutely. Just as she was about to speak, a little boy ran over from behind. Su Qing, who didn't pay attention, was hit all of a sudden. I quickly grabbed her arm and held her shoulder with my other hand. After Su Qing stood firm, I squatted down and helped the little boy who fell to the ground. Little boy, are you okay? The little boy stood up quickly, patted the dust off his butt, and said weakly, Sister, I'm sorry. Fortunately, both the big and the small were fine. Just as Su Qing smiled and touched the little boy's head, a little girl who was about the same height as the boy came over, pulled the little boy away, and said seriously, Don't stand in the middle of the road, blocking your brother and sister from dating. Su Qing and I looked at each other. I felt a little embarrassed, and Su Qing, who was thin-skinned, blushed with shame. Just when I was about to start teasing the two children, Suqing took 2 steps at a time and walked over, then bent down and whispered in the little girl's ear, and then secretly glanced at me. The 2 children said, "Oh," exaggeratedly after hearing it, and Suqing took out 2 candies from somewhere and handed them to them, then put her index finger to her mouth and said, "This is a secret, you can't tell it." The 2 children nodded repeatedly. When Suqing came back to me, her face was still red, but she pretended that nothing had happened. "Let's go, we're almost there." "What did you say to those 2 kids just now?" Suqing looked at me, her eyes full of cunning. I don't know what trick she was thinking. After thinking for a while, she shook her head and said, "I don't remember." "Then I'll go back and ask them." After that, I pretended to go back. Suqing, who was fooled, was anxious and quickly grabbed my arm. "No, you can't go, let's eat first, I'm starving." With Suqing dragging us, we arrived at the restaurant she mentioned in about 5 minutes. Suqing asked the waiter for a better location by the sea and privacy, so the waiter led us to a small private room with a semi-open floor-to-ceiling window and a cane-woven shelter next to it. The space was spacious enough, and there were candlesticks and carefully placed roses on the dining table. Suqing felt uncomfortable when she saw the room, which was obviously for couples to date. "Senior, I swear, I didn't mean it. It's just a meal, why do you mind this? Not to mention you, even if it was an 80-year-old grandma, I would still sit here," I teased. Seeing that I didn't misunderstand, Suqing seemed relieved, but also a little disappointed. After the waiter brought the menu, Suqing firmly rejected the signature couple set meal recommended by their restaurant and replaced it with a few special dishes. I poured a glass of lemonade for Suqing. She took it and took a sip, then held the glass with both hands, looked at me and said, "Senior, will you stay in Xiamen forever?" "Yeah, I should. Come to think of it, otherwise I wouldn't have stayed here for so long after graduation." Suqing paused. "How have you been here in the past few years?" "It's pretty good. Life and work are still worry-free and free." "Alone?" Suqing asked suddenly. I looked at Suqing's sudden serious expression, and I couldn't help but feel funny in my heart. Just like when I was in college, she was very innocent, and she couldn't hide anything in her heart. Everything was on her face. "What? You found out that I was alone, so you planned to climb through the window at night to rob me?" "Who is going to climb through your window, Tilda?" Suqing pouted and pretended to be dissatisfied. "I'm alone," I said lightly. "Then, why don't you fall in love?" Suqing asked in a low voice. Before I had time to continue, the waiter pushed the dining cart over and introduced the dishes while serving them. I also took this opportunity to stop talking, which made Suqing depressed. Just as Suqing said, the taste of this restaurant is really good, and with the sea view, it's no wonder it's so popular. At the end of the meal, Suqing suddenly took something out of her bag mysteriously. "Here, it's for you." Suqing handed the thing over, a carefully wrapped gift with a bow tied with a ribbon. "You suddenly gave me a gift, I dare not accept it, otherwise what if it gets out that I'm being kept by someone?" "Oh, Senior, I'm not kidding, and you don't have to worry about it. This thing, to be precise, originally belonged to you. I just kept it for you for a few years." Suqing's expression was serious, not joking at all. "Mine?" I frowned. I really couldn't remember what I had given Suqing before. Suqing pushed the gift in front of me, and then said mysteriously, "Don't open it now, wait until you get home to see it." Seeing her serious look, I nodded, picked up the gift and put it away carefully. Dinner lasted until after 8 o'clock. The 2 people who had been reunited for a long time talked about everything under the sun, and it was a rare and enjoyable time. After the dinner, I was originally going to send Suqing home directly, but Suqing suggested taking a walk. On the beach, in the sound of the waves, the figures of the 2 people were stretched out by the street lights. Suqing was the first to speak. "Senior, does this scene look like the first time we met?" "The first time we met?" I whispered, then shook my head slightly. "I don't remember." Suqing, who was originally expecting something, suddenly became quiet. After a while, Suqing slowly said, "I thought you would remember." After that, Suqing suddenly quickened her pace, took a few steps, looked at the sea in the night, and stood there without saying a word. I walked up to her and looked at her again. Her long eyelashes were full of tears, and she felt very aggrieved. I stood aside and said softly, You, why are you still so crybaby like the first time we met?" Chapter 9 Betting. Suqing was stunned, and then realized that I didn't forget it, but was deliberately teasing her, so she burst into laughter and hit me on the shoulder heavily. Senior, you are so annoying. I smiled and handed her a tissue. Whether you are annoying or not is another matter. Wipe your tears first, otherwise people will misunderstand me as bullying girls. You are bullying me. Suqing took the tissue and said in a crying voice. When we first met, your crying was really impressive. After all, there are few people who get lost and can't find their dormitories on the first day of school, and then squat on the ground and cry heartbreakingly. How can it be so exaggerated? It was my first day to report to school, and it was dark at night. It was not normal to find the way. Suqing was a little embarrassed by my teasing and explained. It's fine. I looked at Suqing and sighed. Huh. Suqing was very puzzled. You haven't changed at all. You are still the same as before in school, stupid, and fine. I'm not stupid. Suqing shook her hair and walked forward. Besides, you haven't changed, that's great. After a while, the two of us returned to the vicinity of the company. There was not so much traffic at this time, so I just drove Suqing back. According to the address Suqing sent, it took about 20 minutes to get to the place. It was a mid to high-end community. You can see at a glance that the environment is pretty good. Senior, do you want to go in and sit for a while? Suqing stood at the car window and bent over to look at me. It's too late, next time. I shook my head and said. Suqing seemed to think of something and explained again, don't get me wrong, I just asked you to go in and sit for a while. I dare not let boys stay overnight, or I will be beaten by my dad. Besides, I know you are not a bad person. Looking at Suqing's silly look, I suddenly couldn't help but want to tease her, so I said, but I'm afraid you are Tilder. Then I said goodbye and drove away. When Suqing realized what I meant, I had already walked away. I saw her waving her hands in the rearview mirror, jumping, and she was probably cursing. After arriving home, as soon as I opened the door, I saw Feng Wan sitting cross-legged on the sofa holding instant noodles. For a moment, the two of us looked at each other in surprise. Why are you still eating instant noodles at this time? Didn't you have dinner? Who told you to leave me to go out and eat delicious food? No one loves me and no one cares about me. What else can I eat if not instant noodles? Feng Wan said angrily. Looking at Feng Wan's pajamas and messy hair, I asked in confusion, are you sure? Did you just wake up from a late nap? Cough. Feng Wan, who was obviously guessed by me, was eager to refute, but she choked and almost spilled the instant noodles on the sofa. I walked up to her, took the instant noodles in her hand and put them on the table, which made this girl dissatisfied. What? You don't even let me eat instant noodles. Are you torturing me? Who else in our family can torment you? I'd be very lucky if you let me go. Change clothes and take you out to eat. Hum. Feng Wan's eyes widened. You want to take me out to eat? No. Forget it. Eat. Wait for me. Change clothes immediately. 1 minute, no, half a minute. Looking at Feng Wan, who ran back to the room barefoot in a hurry to go out, I was speechless. Who brought him up with this personality? While Feng Wan was changing clothes, I walked into the study, turned on the desk lamp, and took out Suqing's gift from my coat. After unpacking the outer package, I saw the slightly yellowed cover. Suqing's gift turned out to be this, a diary, my diary. Touching the familiar diary, 1,000 thoughts came to my mind in an instant. Before I could open it, Feng Wan's voice came from the living room. I'm dressed. Where's the person? Feng, wouldn't he go out to eat alone without telling me? Listening to the aunt's noisy voice, I could only put the diary in the innermost drawer, turn off the lights and leave the study. What do you want to eat? Barbecue. Eating barbecue at night, don't you hate high-calorie food? This thing makes you fat the longest. The fattest? Then eat this. Let's go. Sleep, cough, I've been busy all afternoon, I'm starving. Feng Wan pushed me out the door, feeling that if I walked a step slower, I would starve to death on the way. It's true that this girl slept in all day. After walking around downstairs, Feng Wan finally chose a barbecue restaurant with a slightly better environment. After choosing her favorite food, the girl sat back in the seat opposite me. Such a big basket, can you finish it? I've had dinner, I can't eat much. I reminded her. R. Feng Wan looked confused, and then reacted and said, you want more. I felt a frown on my face, so you ordered all that big basket for yourself. Is it illegal? Then I'll order another one for you. Feng Wan stood up and said. No, I'll just eat 2 of yours later. I rubbed my eyebrows, and I had no idea what to do with this girl. There weren't many customers in the store, so our barbecue was served soon, and Feng Wan also went to get a few cans of beer. You're drinking again. I'm an adult, thank you Tilda. Feng Wan opened a bottle for herself and opened another for me. Looking at Feng Wan, who was looking at me with a glass, I also raised my glass and clinked it with her. This is the first time I drink with you. You were the one I hated the most before. I tasted my dad's wine at home, and you complained. Really? Why don't you say that you were underage at that time, and you drank secretly, and smashed the walnuts in the 4-story building that my dad had been working on for more than 10 years, and then you said it was me, so my dad beat me up? Really? Why don't I remember it? Feng Wan would start to cheat every time she knew she was in the wrong. Seeing that she looked like she would never admit it, I could only shake my head. I really want to ask you a question. I don't know if she was thirsty. Feng Wan quickly finished a glass and immediately poured a second glass. Why did you choose to stay in Xiamen? Because I'm used to it. I've been here for 4 years. I replied. TSK, you're so perfunctory. You obviously don't want to say it. The girl was very dissatisfied and complained. Drink less. I won't carry you if you get drunk again. I stopped her, but she broke away. Seeing her sulking, I said, then I'll ask you a question. If you answer it seriously, I'll tell you why I stayed in Xiamen. Okay. Feng Wan nodded, then looked at me, waiting for me to ask. Why did you come to Xiamen? The girl was surprised to see that I was asking this. She hesitated for a long time, finally took a bite of a skewer of barbecue, and said, forget it, I don't want to know the question just now. Don't want to know or don't dare to answer. I just wanted to use provocation to get some secrets out of this girl, and her cell phone rang. Mom Tilda, Feng Wan answered and turned on the hands-free. Xiao Wan, why is it so noisy over there? Are you still outside so late? Are you alone? No, I'm eating barbecue outside with friends. I'll go back later. Friends? Classmates? Boys or girls? Remember to go back early. My mother's concerned voice came, and I looked at Feng Wan again, who looked like a prank was successful, covering her mouth and laughing. Okay, Mom, I got it. I'll hang up first. The girl hung up the phone before Mom could say anything. You're so brave. You joked with Mom and hung up on her. Brother, I'm going to make a bet with you. Feng Wan came over with great interest. What? I bet that Dad or Mom will call you soon. If I guess right, you promise me one thing. What if you lose? If I lose, I'll answer your question just now. Deal. I regretted it as soon as I opened my mouth, because my phone rang while I was talking. Feng Wan looked at me with a joking look on his face, then took my phone and answered the call, and pressed the hands-free key. Dad, you're not asleep yet. Well, your mom just said that Xiao Wan and her friends are still eating out. Did you know that? Dad's deep voice came. I looked at Feng Wan, who was trying not to laugh next to me, and made up a lie. I know, their roommates and classmates are downstairs in the community. That's fine, you should be more careful. Xiao Wan is a girl, tell her to be safe, and you can pick her up later. Okay, Dad. Sure enough, Dad called specifically for Feng Wan, and hung up after explaining. After hanging up the phone, Feng Wan looked at me smugly, smiling like a little fox. After thinking for a while, Feng Wan said, come with me to watch the sunrise. Chapter 10 Diary. Watch the sunrise. Why? Are you trying to cheat? If I wasn't unfamiliar with this place, I wouldn't want to find you. Seeing Feng Wan pretending to be stubborn, I wanted her to change something, but I finally nodded as if possessed by a ghost. Seeing that I agreed, the corners of the girl's mouth rose, and she immediately poured herself another glass. Unconsciously, Feng Wan had drunk more than 2 bottles. I picked up the remaining half bottle of beer in front of her and poured it all into my glass. Drink the wine in the glass, don't drink it again. Feng Wan's face was slightly red after drinking. She looked at me blankly and nodded. Are you full? Do you want me to give you some more? Looking at Feng Wan's belly, I was curious about how she managed to keep her belly so flat after eating so much. No need. Feng Wan, who was always cold and good looking in front of outsiders, covered her mouth with one hand and burped in an unladylike manner. Only 70% full at night is enough. Only 70% full. I'm kidding. I'm dying of bloating after eating so much. Feng Wan touched his stomach and exhaled heavily. I got up, paid the bill, and walked back with Feng Wan. Have you really thought about staying in Xiamen? I asked. Feng Wan turned around and looked at me, nodding. What are your plans for work? Or if you have any intentions, I'll ask my friends. Not for now. I've already prepared my resume. I'll take a few days off this week and start sending out resumes next week. Seeing that Feng Wan had made up her mind, I didn't ask any more questions. After arriving home, Feng Wan was going to wash up. As soon as I entered the study, the girl followed me in. What for? Feng Wan stretched out a hand, looked at me, and said slowly, living expenses. What? I thought I heard it wrong, so I asked again. Living expenses, I've graduated and I'm an adult now. I definitely can't ask my parents for money. Feng Wan said seriously. You are already an adult, so why do you still ask me for money? Because I just graduated and I don't have a job yet. The girl smiled, hiding her cunningness under her harmless expression. Why don't you just say you want to blackmail me? I said angrily, and then transferred 2,000 yuan to her via WeChat. As soon as I sent it, the girl immediately clicked to receive it, and then turned around and went to the bathroom. Little ungrateful wolf, not even a thank you. Hearing the sound of water coming from the bathroom, I closed the study door and took out the diary again. Opening the first page, the paper was full of water stains, with the 2 words Feng Chen written in slender gold in the middle, and the 3 words Chen Milan were written crookedly at the bottom, with a ghost face drawn next to it. What is this? Your diary? Yes. Show me tilde. No, how can I show my diary to others casually? Then lend it to me and I'll write one too. No, do you think I don't know you'll definitely peek? Oh, let me take a look tilde. No means no. I'm angry tilde. Oh, I love to see you angry the most, go on tilde. You're not allowed to see it, right? Seeing that playing tricks didn't work, the girl snatched the diary, then only opened the first page, carefully wrote the 3 words, Chen Milan, which were not very pretty, and then drew a face. Now the diary is mine too. Then you can't see it either. Why? The girl frowned and said dissatisfiedly. You can't beat me. Hey! Feng Chen, stop. My thoughts returned to the present. I was upset and didn't know whether I dared or didn't want to open the back of the diary. After closing the diary, I saw something on the back that didn't belong to this diary, a bookmark. I took it out and saw a sentence written in beautiful pen, in the rising and setting of the sun and the moon, love the world again. Su Qing. I threw this diary into Daoshan Lake by myself on the night of my graduation. As for how it ended up in Su Qing's hands, I don't know. After hesitating for a while, I picked up my phone and sent a message to Su Qing, the handwriting is good. Su Qing replied with a shy emoticon. Then she sent a message, did you see it? I'm not blind. Su Qing didn't reply, so I continued, ask you a question, where did you get the diary? Secret tilde, perhaps afraid that I would continue to ask, Su Qing sent another message, I'm so sleepy, I'm going to sleep. Then she sent an emoji of a person sleeping soundly. After asking to no avail, I took out the bookmark separately and clipped it in the books I often read on the desktop, and then put the diary back to the innermost part of the drawer. After a while, I heard Feng Wan coming out of the bathroom, so I prepared to wash up. I took my pajamas and walked into the bathroom. Just as I was about to take off my shirt, Feng Wan opened the door directly and walked in stealthily with his head down. I widened my eyes and quickly put on my clothes again. What are you doing? I haven't taken my clothes yet. After saying that, he quickly took the clothes he had changed out of a new clothes basket next to him and slipped out again. Please knock on the door first next time. You are so stingy. You are afraid of being at a disadvantage. Who cares about seeing you? Girl, is this a question of being stingy or not? After taking a shower for more than 10 minutes, Feng Wan, who had just blow-dried her hair, was still on the sofa and had not returned to her room. Seeing me coming out, she asked, "Is your roommate's wedding on Saturday?" I nodded and asked, "What's wrong? Are you not going?" "No, send me the address first." I looked at her in confusion, and she said casually, "I have something to do on Saturday morning, so I will go later. You go and take a seat first. If there is no place for me, you are finished." Seeing Feng Wan say this, I felt something was wrong for a moment, but I couldn't say it. After falling asleep, it was still a peaceful night. The next morning, I got up at 6 o'clock and found that Feng Wan had already gotten up and sat on the sofa in the living room. The sun came out from the west. "Why did you get up so early?" I joked. "I'm not like you, who likes to stay in bed." Looking at Feng Wan, who often sleeps in but likes to frame others, I didn't argue with her anymore. Just when I was leaving, the girl got up and followed me out. Looking at Feng Wan with her eyes wide open and innocent, I was about to speak, but the girl said first, "I'm going downstairs to have breakfast too. And I'll take your car later." The two of them had breakfast at the breakfast stall at the entrance of the community, where people were coming and going, and then walked towards the garage. After getting in the car, Feng Wan pressed the window of the co-pilot and looked out the window with his side face. "Where are you going? Aren't you going to work? Just put me down when you get there." Seeing that I didn't understand, Feng Wan said, "I'm going to take a walk on the beach. Your company is close. Be careful. Don't fall into the sea. I can't save you." "Can't save you? Are you saying I'm fat? Explain clearly." Feng Wan, who has always been very confident about his figure, stared at me fiercely like a runaway tiger. "No, it has nothing to do with you. Blame me. I don't have enough strength. I don't have as much appetite and strength as you." Feng Wan was silent for a few seconds, then rolled his eyes at me and turned to look out the window. "You're really rude. I'm going to eat more. I'll beat you up every day when I'm strong." Feng Wan seemed angry, but through the rearview mirror on the passenger side, I clearly found that he was staring at the girl outside with a smile on his face. Chapter 11. Brother-in-law? Sister-in-law? We're here. I stopped on the side of the road before entering the garage. "You work here?" Feng Wan looked at the building in front of him after getting off the car. "Yes. Eat more and gain more weight. When you are strong, I will recruit you as a security guard. Then we can go to get off work together," I said. "Bar, you are such a bad mouth." Feng Wan raised his fist, waved it and turned away. "Brother Chen, is that beautiful girl downstairs your girlfriend?" As soon as I entered the elevator, I met an acquaintance from the company's planning department, a young man who just joined the company this year, named Yunji. When I first joined the company, I helped him solve a few problems. Since then, he has been very nice to me and has been instigating and trying to introduce his sister to me. Seeing the boy's surprised expression, I followed his words and said, "Yes, I will invite you to dinner with your sister-in-law next time when I am free." Yunji, who believed it, was annoyed. "If I had known, whether you agree or not, I would have let my sister hook up with you first. Oh no, introduce you to each other." I patted his shoulder and said, "There are so many handsome guys in the company, just find one for your sister." Yunji shook his head and said, "You don't know, my sister has an unusually high standard, and I have already assumed that you are my brother-in-law. If you are taken away by someone else, my sister will probably be a widow. Go to hell, being a widow is when the man dies after marriage. If your sister hears this, she will break your legs." I left the elevator after reaching the floor, leaving the boy sighing in the elevator. I was busy for half a day in the morning and held 2 short meetings in the afternoon, and the work of the day was basically over. Looking at the busy scenes of other offices sighing, I finally understood why people in other departments of the company had such a big opinion of us. Feng Wan didn't send me a message in the afternoon. I assumed that she went home by herself and planned to go back directly. As a result, when I went downstairs and got out of the elevator, I saw this girl sitting on a bench at the entrance of the building through the glass, holding a cup of Coke in one hand and eating snacks in the other hand. I slowly approached her with a bad taste in my heart. She was busy eating and didn't notice that I was approaching. I quietly walked behind her and suddenly patted her shoulder. R. Feng Wan, who was not prepared, was frightened by my pat and the snacks in her hand flew out. Looking back, I saw it was me. You are so annoying. Why are you sitting here? Waiting for me to get off work. Pretentious, who is waiting for you? I'm just tired of shopping and just find a place to rest. Feng Wan picked up the snacks that fell on the ground with a tissue and threw them into the trash can. Who knew you were just getting off work, but since we met, I'll reluctantly take your car home again. Looking at Feng Wan, who was stubborn, I couldn't help but feel funny. Okay, let's go to the garage. Just after walking a few steps, I saw Yunji staring at us at the door of the building. I just said something was wrong, and the next second, Yunji shouted at the top of his voice, "Brother-in-law, is your sister-in-law going to take you home? Is he talking to you?" Feng Wan was stunned. No, he's probably crazy, let's go. Originally, he wanted to avoid this guy, but when he saw that I didn't respond, he immediately ran to us, looked at me, and then looked at Feng Wan. Brother-in-law, sister-in-law is so pretty, my sister deserves to lose. Brother-in-law. Feng Wan raised her voice by 8 degrees and looked at me immediately. You are already an adult brother-in-law? Who is his sister? How should I know who his sister is? You don't know. Then why did he call you brother-in-law? Sister-in-law, don't get me wrong. Brother Chen doesn't know my sister. I was just calling her for fun. You can't just call her for fun. Wait a minute, what did you call me just now? Sister-in-law. Feng Wan was stunned for a moment, then her pretty face turned red to her ears. Who are you? Who is your sister-in-law? No, why does this girl sound angry to me? Yunji felt that the atmosphere was a bit wrong, and immediately explained, I really didn't call her that, Brother Chen said it himself. The moment Yunji opened his mouth, I immediately felt a chill on my back. Needless to say, this girl must be staring at me with a death stare now. I calmed down, pretended to be calm and looked at Feng Wan and said, this matter cannot be explained in 1 or 2 sentences, let's go home first. Okay let's go home first Feng Wan looked at me, smiled very sweetly, and took my arm, with murderous intent. My body instinctively wanted to hide, but the next second, a small hand immediately twisted the soft flesh on my waist and pinched it hard. Hiss. I took a breath of cold air. This girl, it was a fatal move. Let's go. Let's have a good reminiscence tomorrow. I said to Yunji with a smile. This young man didn't hear the hidden meaning of my words at all, and said happily, okay, goodbye, Brother Chen. Goodbye, sister-in-law. Hiss. Another time. After getting in the car, I rubbed my old waist hard. You're crazy, now it's good, it's probably bruised all over. You still say. You're lucky that I didn't let you get bruised all over. Feng Wan pouted, looking unhappy. It's not that exaggerated. It's just a misunderstanding. Okay, tell me what the misunderstanding is. You let others call you brother-in-law and call me sister-in-law. In order not to be killed again, I had no choice but to tell Feng Wan the whole story. Because of this, the boy kept saying that he would introduce his sister to me. At first I thought it was a joke, but he really planned to ask his sister out. Later, in order to avoid him, I made an excuse that I already had a girlfriend. He happened to see me this morning, so I admitted it. Really? Who is his sister? I almost fell down when I heard Feng Wan's question. So after talking for a long time, you only remembered his sister? I really don't know her, and I've never seen her before. Then how did you think of saying I was? Because you're pretty. Feng Wan looked at me in disbelief, and stammered, what do you mean? Literally. You have to act like a cleaner to fool people. If I find a cleaning lady and say she's my girlfriend, will she believe it? Feng Wan didn't say anything all the way, and sat quietly in the passenger seat, but I clearly noticed that this girl couldn't help but sneak a glance at me after a while. But when I looked over, she immediately turned her eyes away. Why does this girl feel a little strange? After arriving home, this girl went straight back to her room and closed the door. When asked what she wanted to eat in the evening, she just casually shouted, whatever. Walked into the kitchen, looked at the ingredients in the refrigerator, took out a few and started preparing dinner. As a result, after working for almost an hour, dinner was already on the table, and this girl didn't come out yet. I walked to the room and knocked on the door. Come out for dinner. I only heard the rustling sound of packing things in the room. I'm here. Looking at Feng Wan, who didn't even change his clothes, it was obvious that he was not sleeping. I asked curiously, "What are you doing in there?" Feng Wan's eyes met mine, and his face turned red. He immediately dodged and shook his head. "Nothing." "Why are you blushing if I didn't do anything?" Chapter 12. Whose good person doesn't turn on the light when taking a shower? No. Why do I feel like you've been sneaking around lately? Bar. Feng Wan kicked me in anger. You're the sneaky one, and you're also sneaky. I didn't continue to argue with this girl. After the two of them finished their dinner quietly, she naturally went into the kitchen to wash the dishes and clean up. This harmonious and warm scene, in the eyes of outsiders who don't know, is most likely a loving couple. Couple? I shook my head in self-mockery. What are I thinking about? While Feng Wan was cleaning up the kitchen, I took my clothes and took a shower. When I came out, this girl was in the study, eating a lollipop and reading a book leisurely. I leaned on the sofa and turned on the TV to watch the news. Then within a minute, Feng Wan turned off the light in the study, ran to the sofa and lay down beside me, and put her two smooth feet on the coffee table. I looked at Feng Wan from the side. This girl stared at the TV without blinking. Seeing that she was so quiet and didn't make any trouble, I ignored her. Then she lay down and continued to watch TV. In less than 3 minutes, she said, "I'm thirsty. Get me a glass of water." A few minutes later, she said, "Please get me the yogurt from the refrigerator." A few minutes later, she said, "My cell phone is in the study. Please get it." I was tortured and veins on my forehead were almost exposed. "Little girl, can't you finish it at once?" Who knew that she looked aggrieved? I just didn't think of it. Pretending to sniff, Feng Wan continued, "Forget it. I'll tell my parents tomorrow that I want to go home. I'm despised and scolded here, and I have to do housework at home. I'm beaten and kicked if I don't agree with you. You're just a landlord and a bully." Fortunately, I've been arguing with her since I was a child. Otherwise, people with weak psychological quality would probably get a heart attack. Seeing that I finally got up and walked towards the study, this girl smiled like a cunning little fox. As soon as I turned my head to look at her, I immediately frowned again. For more than an hour, the girl lay on the sofa and played with her phone in front of the TV. She changed her posture from time to time. After a while, she put her feet on the edge of the sofa and then leaned her head on my shoulder. "That's too much," I reminded her. "Don't move." Feng Wan didn't think there was anything wrong. Instead, she moved her head to make herself more comfortable. Feeling the faint fragrance of Feng Wan's hair, I couldn't help but feel a little strange in my heart, and felt a sense of panic for no reason. I was about to get up, but Feng Wan pushed me down, and then turned around and stared at me. "Do you hate me so much?" "Why do I hate you?" I said guilty. "I went to the bathroom, and you didn't let me go." Feng Wan's frown finally relaxed, and he said, "Come back quickly after you go. It hurts my neck to lean on me like this." Going to the bathroom was of course an excuse. I washed my face with cold water in front of the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror and comforted myself. Feng Chen, what are you thinking about? This is your sister." When I walked out of the bathroom, Feng Wan got up very naturally, and I had to sit down, and then this girl leaned on me again. I watched TV absent-mindedly for half an hour, and suddenly heard a slight snoring. I turned around and saw Feng Wan leaning on my shoulder and fell asleep. I called her twice softly, but there was no response. She was obviously exhausted after playing crazy outside all day. I couldn't help but take a closer look at the sleeping Feng Wan. She had a delicate face like a porcelain doll, a beautiful face, and long eyelashes. She was really pretty and cute. According to my criteria for judging beauty, the full score is 100. Even Su Qing, who I have met around me, was about 90 points, while Feng Wan in front of me was already over 95 points, and because she had just graduated from college and was young, she was a little immature. I wonder how pretty she will be if I give her a few more years. I wanted to put her on the sofa and cover her with a quilt, but I was afraid that she would fall off. After thinking about it, I decided to carry her back to the room. Feng Wan's room was full of pink atmosphere, with dolls all over the bed, some of which were familiar and were given by me before, and the room was also filled with a faint fragrance. After carrying her into her room, I gently put her on the bed, hesitated for a while, and helped her take off her coat. This girl should wake up at night, and I will take off the rest of her clothes when she wakes up. Knowing her habit of drinking water when she was thirsty at night, I poured half a cup of boiled water from her thermos and placed it on the bedside, then turned off the light and closed the door. I thought today would pass peacefully, but what happened next proved that I thought too much. To sum it up in one sentence, God is playing tricks on me tilde. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up with a burst of urination and got up to go to the bathroom. I walked to the bathroom door in the dark and turned on the door. I turned on the light with ease, and then I saw a scene that made me dumbfounded. There was someone in the bathroom. The sleepiness in my head disappeared without a trace. Who else was it but Feng Wan in front of me? I finally realized why the strange feeling came from when I opened the door just now, because the bathroom door is usually not closed at night, and a clear burst of water vapor hits my face when the door is opened. Looking at Feng Wan again, he was shy and afraid at this moment, and used a towel to cover the key parts of his body. The next second, a slap flew over, with a crisp snap. I got a solid slap on my left cheek, and then Feng Wan, who had used too much force, lost her balance and fell down. In order to protect her, I could only reach out to help her. One hand held her shoulder, and the other hand touched the soft part in front of the girl at an inappropriate time. I didn't have time to react when I realized something was wrong. Another slap. 10 minutes later, at 1 or 2 in the morning, 2 people with red faces sat on the left and right of the sofa at home. One was angry, and the other was slapped. They sat there for almost 10 minutes, and neither of them said a word. After a few minutes, I couldn't help but ask first, even though my face was a little swollen after being slapped twice, did you fall hard? With a whoosh, Feng Wan picked up a pillow and flew over to me. Then, she finally calmed down a little, staring at me, and unconsciously shed another tear, but still didn't say anything. Look at you, why are you taking a bath in the middle of the night? It's okay to take a bath, but at least turn on the light or lock the door. What do you care? If you hadn't beaten me, I wouldn't bother to care. Seeing the girl's unruly look, I suppressed my anger. In fact, I could roughly guess the whole story. She must have gone to bed early, but she was not used to getting up at night and didn't take a bath, so the following scene happened, but the only thing I don't understand is why she didn't turn on the light when taking a bath. This girl also knew that she was in the wrong, and she slapped me twice, so it was not good to be willful. Wiped her tears, looked at me with red eyes and said, "Don't tell anyone about what happened tonight. If others know, you're dead." Am I sick? I rolled my eyes. Tell others that I saw you taking a bath. You still say it. Feng Wan was about to explode again when he heard it. Okay, I won't say it anymore, I said quickly. After a minute of silence, Feng Wan spoke again. What did you see? I looked up in surprise. Feng Wan was sitting opposite the sofa, with tears in her eyes, looking at me dimly. Chapter 13. Feng Wan? Bridesmaid? See, what did you see? Feng Wan's question made me feel guilty and I stuttered. Feng Wan didn't say anything, just looked at me coldly. Seeing that I couldn't fool him, I said, just the upper body. Feng Wan still didn't say a word, but this time he got up and went back to his room soon. In the living room, I breathed a sigh of relief, shook my head helplessly, and then ran back to my room. Fortunately, the two of us tacitly didn't mention this episode again, and time soon came to Saturday Yarn Fei's wedding, and the 506 dormitory was rarely together for the first time after graduation. Director Yarn, you are so generous. The foremost handsome men since the founding of Xiamen University are all here today. I just took a look and the women in the audience are not interested in eating. They are eager to pounce on me and eat me. Lishan, please keep your voice down. I still have some dignity, Feng Chen said with a smile. Just when the 4 of us were chatting together, Baiju came over with 3 bridesmaids. Handsome guys, the bridesmaids are here. We all looked at the 3 girls in white bridesmaid dresses. They had beautiful figures and were very pleasing to the eye. Brother, it's time to grab them. Lishan rubbed his hands and said. We are here to be best men, not to grab the wife of the leader. I joked. Let me introduce you Tilder, Baiju said with a smile. My best friends, this is Tong Tong, this is Yanshin, and the last one is Xiao Xiao. The three of us groomsmen also introduced ourselves, which seemed normal, but soon I found that the girl named Tong Tong always glanced at Feng Chen intentionally or unintentionally. Li Xin was busy flirting with another girl and didn't notice anything unusual. Yang Fei and I exchanged glances, and then we patted Feng Chen's shoulders in tacit understanding and whispered, grasp the opportunity. As a result, this guy looked at us with a confused face. Opportunity? What opportunity? Have a banquet. You deserve to be single for 4 years in college. Because we rehearsed in advance last night, the whole process was still relatively familiar, but just when everyone thought everything was going well, an accident still happened. The bridesmaid named Yanshin suddenly found Baiju and said that she was not feeling well. Hearing this, several people became nervous. When we went over, Yanshin's face was pale and it looked serious. It was already past 11 o'clock, and there was still more than half an hour before the wedding officially started at 12:08 noon. One less bridesmaid meant that either one had to be found temporarily or one less best man could be found, but yesterday's process was to rehearse according to 3 pairs of men and women. Just when several people were looking for someone to help them out, Yang Fei came up to me and said, "Didn't you bring a female companion? Where is she? Can't you ask her to help?" Just as I was about to say that the person hadn't arrived yet, I saw a girl walking in at the entrance of the wedding hall, causing everyone at the entrance to be shocked. Looking through the light, who else could it be but Feng Wan? As for why everyone at the door was making a fuss, I only realized after I got closer that this girl had put on makeup on purpose today and was simply so beautiful. I didn't care whether she put on makeup or not, and I pulled her to the back of the stage quickly. What are you doing? Where are you taking me? I need your help urgently. One of the bridesmaids ran away. Now I need someone. You are the bridesmaid. Come and help me out. I have to play the bridesmaid at a wedding. I quickly explained the whole story. When I looked at Feng Wan, she was stunned with her mouth slightly open. Fuck. Brother Chen, who is this beauty? Li Xin was completely shocked when he saw Feng Wan I brought over. No wonder he looked surprised. Feng Wan was originally a standard beauty. With her makeup today, I was shocked for a few seconds at first sight. You guys, don't mess around with my sister. What? Your sister? Is this your sister? Impossible. Ignoring the surprise of several people, Baiju and the other 2 bridesmaids quickly took Feng Wan to the small room to change clothes, and by the way, they talked about the wedding process. In less than 5 minutes, Feng Wan, who was still in a daze and hadn't recovered, was brought out again, and everyone's eyes lit up. Looking at her again, she was so nervous that she couldn't speak, and just stared at me blankly. Are you stupid? It was rare to see her get frustrated, so I couldn't help but tease her. I'm afraid something will go wrong. It's not your wedding, just stand there and listen to the host's instructions, and just do whatever we do. The wedding started soon. I guess Feng Wan was more nervous than the bride during the whole wedding. Fortunately, as the music started and the wedding began, she slowly relaxed. When it came to the wedding ring delivery, I followed the procedure and walked hand in hand with the bridesmaid from the front of the stage to the stage, and then gave the rings to the bride and groom respectively. When I took Feng Wan's hand, I found that the girl's body was slightly stiff. I whispered to comfort her, and then led her forward under the lights. After walking a few steps, I found that my palms were wet, and Feng Wan's palms were sweaty. Fortunately, there were no other accidents. I walked to the newlyweds and successfully gave the rings to Yang Fei and Baiju. The 2 of them smiled at each other the moment they exchanged the rings. Then Yang Fei was bold enough to hug Baiju and kiss her deeply in front of all the young and old men in the audience, which brought the atmosphere of the wedding scene to a climax. Finally, after the MC repeated several times to let go, Yang Fei ended the kiss. Looking at Baiju again, her face was rosy and shy, and she slapped Yang Fei's shoulder with anger. Feng Wan, who was next to him, looked at them in a daze and whispered, "It's great." Looking at the 2 people who have been together since college and have experienced many twists and turns, but are still together in the end, I am also sincerely happy. Yes, it's great Tilder. Then it was the toasting session for the newlyweds. We specially arranged Feng Chen and Tong Tong to accompany them, and Feng Wan and I took a rare break and sat down to eat something. You said you would be late before, but you ended up putting on makeup at home, I said. Feng Wan was eating with her head down, and she lowered her head even lower when she heard the words. Looking at the makeup that really made people's eyes light up, I nodded. Fortunately, I came here today and saved the day. I thought this girl would say thank you, but she looked up at me. Just when I didn't know what her expressionless face meant, she suddenly stepped on my foot lightly under the table, then stuck out her tongue and snorted coldly, "Wood." Just then, Yang Fei and Baiju also came up, and all of us stood up to welcome the newcomers. Brother, let's not talk about anything else. We are brothers for 7 years. Today I will go first, and you guys have to speed up. Yang Fei's eyes were slightly red, and he looked at us and said, "Don't cry on such a festive day. Come on, fill your brother's glasses, and let's toast to each other," Baiju said while holding Yang Fei's arm. Then the glasses of several people were filled, and there was no extra nonsense, and they all drank it all. Sister, your name is Feng Wan, right? Baiju suddenly looked at Feng Wan. Feng Wan called her sister-in-law and nodded. Thank you so much today. Baiju took Feng Wan's hand, glanced at me, and then turned to Feng Wan and said, I found it a pity when I knew you were Feng Chen's sister. You two don't look like brother and sister. Chapter 14. Why are you angry? They don't look like siblings. I raised my voice an octave higher. How do you know that? Baiju didn't say anything, just glanced at Feng Wan and smiled. Feng Wan, who didn't know whether he was frightened by these words or something, opened his mouth slightly and stared at Baiju in a daze. Okay, I won't tease you guys anymore. Come on, let's toast again. Tilda. Baiju took Yang Fei's arm and raised his glass. Yang Fei and Baiju, who were celebrating their long-awaited reunion and the wedding of old friends, chatted happily with our table for a long time before continuing to toast other tables at the urging of the elders. That's great. Just as I was looking at the newlyweds with satisfaction, Feng Wan suddenly said this. What? I turned around and looked at her. The girl held her chin with one hand and looked at Yang Fei and Baiju, who were holding each other's arms. It's great to be with the person you love, such a couple. Girl, do you want to get married? Go home and tell your parents to find someone to marry you off quickly. Tilda, I teased. I don't know if it was because saying she wanted to get married made her angry or what, but Feng Wan suddenly turned around and looked at me coldly like a cat whose tail was stepped on. The next second, he stepped on my foot with all his might. Arr! I screamed before I could react. Although the wedding was noisy, many people still heard the scream and looked at us. Feng Wan, the perpetrator, immediately lowered her head and pretended that it was none of her business. I could only nod to Yang Fei, who was full of doubts, with an apology, to signal them to continue. You're crazy. Feng Wan didn't even raise his head. After a while, he said quietly, I'd love to. Helplessly looking at Feng Wan, whose face was gloomy at the moment, I also felt a headache. Didn't I just say to marry her off? Is it that serious? In the next hour or so, the bride and groom went through the rest of the process, followed by a lively red envelope grab and the final group photo session. Even after Yang Fei and Baiju finished the process, they still had a lot of things to do, so they were very busy and even came over to say hello. We also let them do their own things and not to bother with us. It was not until 4 p.m. that we said goodbye to Yang Fei and his group and prepared to leave together. Let's 3 brothers have dinner together and chat tonight. Yang Fei is definitely not able to do it. He is busy with his wedding night tonight, and it is still a question whether he can stand up tomorrow. Li Xing said. Why can't you stand up? Just as I was about to speak, Feng Wan's voice came, with an innocent look on his face. Li Xing. Feng Chen. After a short awkward moment, Li Xingcai said, well, sister, think about it, Lao Yang has been busy with his wedding today, isn't it normal for him to sleep in tomorrow? Fortunately, Feng Wan's mind was simpler than that of a paramecium, so he didn't think too much about it. We quickly changed the subject. Not today. Feng Chen suddenly said, I have an appointment tonight. You have a date. Who else do you know here besides us? Li Xing asked doubtfully, and then he seemed to have thought of something. Damn, you can't. After that, Li Xing turned around and looked at the bridesmaids. Are you really hooking up with that Tong Tong? What do you mean by hooking up? This is normal communication between young men and women. Okay, then I'll just get together with Brother Chen. We haven't seen each other for a long time. I'll stay at your house tonight and we can have a good chat at night. Li Xing sighed. Okay, don't be disgusting. It's just the two of us, so forget it. Besides, my sister is still here, so it's not convenient. I said with a smile. Fuck, a bunch of idiots who forget their principles for the sake of beauty. I declined Yang Fei and his friend's invitation to stay for dinner, and when I got home, it was almost 8 o'clock in the evening. There are some vegetables in the refrigerator. Take a look. What do you want to eat tonight? I have no appetite. I'll go back to my room first. Feng Wan put down his things, went back to his room and closed the door without saying anything else. This girl, is she still angry about what happened in the afternoon? Although I don't know why she reacted so strongly to an ordinary joke, but from the fact that she refused to eat since she was a child, it proves that she is really angry. I walked to Feng Wan's door and knocked, but there was no response and the door was locked. I had no choice but to go cook. After dinner was ready, Feng Wan knocked on the door for the second time, but there was still no movement in her room. Sitting alone at the dining table in the living room, the atmosphere at home became extremely strange. A few minutes later, my mother called. Son, are you with Xiao Wan? Well, I'm at home. Xiao Wan went with me to attend a classmate's wedding in the afternoon. After we came back, he went back to his room to rest. He must have fallen asleep. Feeling guilty, I made an excuse. After all, since the first day Feng Wan came to stay at my house, her parents have always spoiled her like their own daughter. A large part of the reason is because her parents truly like her, and perhaps another part is to take care of her young heart. No wonder your dad said he didn't answer after 2 calls. I called him but he didn't answer either. When she wakes up, tell her to call us back. Okay, Mom. But aren't you too partial? You only care about your daughter and don't want your son anymore. I shook my head. Your father and I are hoping that you will get lost and steal other people's cabbages. Speaking of this, when will you? Okay, Mom, I got it. Xiao Wan seems to be awake. I'll go check it out. I immediately interrupted her when I saw that she was not happy. Mom, I'm hanging up first. You kid. I hung up the phone before my mother finished speaking, otherwise, given her personality, she would have kept nagging for half an hour. Knock 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 tilde knock 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 tilde. I knocked for a long time but there was still no response. This girl was obviously holding her breath and ignoring me. Xiao Wan, your parents called you several times but you didn't answer. They are worried. Sure enough, after mentioning parents, there was a rustling sound coming from the room. Within a minute, Feng Wan opened the door and walked out with an expressionless face. It seemed that he had not slept, but his expression was obviously a little dazed. The phone was muted just now. After saying this lightly, the girl picked up the phone I left on the table and called my parents. After chatting for about 10 minutes, Feng Wan hung up the phone and sat down at the dining table. What did your parents talk to you about? In order to break the awkward atmosphere, I spoke first. Nothing. Well, the pleasant chat I imagined was going to be was stopped by this girl's words right at the beginning. The food is cold. I'll go heat it up for you. I stood up to reheat the food, but Feng Wan grabbed me with one hand, snatched the food away, then picked up the bowl of rice I was about to eat and started eating it by himself. Seeing this, I went to the kitchen and filled a new bowl of steaming hot rice. Then I returned to the dining table and, regardless of Feng Wan's glare at me, exchanged the cold rice in her hand. This time she didn't throw a tantrum and just lowered her head to eat obediently. Seeing Feng Wan finally eating normally, I couldn't help but ask, Xiao Wan, why were you so angry about the joke I played on you this afternoon? Chapter 15, Difficult to Appease. I clearly saw that Feng Wan's eating movements paused, and then there was silence for at least a minute. Just when I was about to be unable to bear this weird atmosphere, Feng Wan raised his head and glanced at me calmly, and whispered, No. Not yet. No one would believe it. This girl has always been like this, stubborn and hard-headed, especially when she is angry. She likes to say the opposite of what she said. I thought about it. The joke I made in the afternoon might be just a joke to me, but for Feng Wan, even though she grew up with me, we are not related by blood after all, and my unintentional words might seem to her like the only child of the original family driving away her, the foster outsider. Under Feng Wan's puzzled look, I stood up, walked up to her, and touched her head. Brother apologizes to you. Perhaps because I rarely have such intimate actions with her, her reaction seemed a little uncomfortable, but what made me feel even more strange was that she did not dodge. Seeing that she did not object, I stroked her head, then squatted down and looked directly into her eyes, and I saw that this girl's eyes were already covered with a layer of mist. I was wrong. I shouldn't have joked with you. And I didn't mean anything else. I just said it casually. Don't take it seriously. Feng Wan pursed her lips and sobbed softly, trying very hard not to let her tears fall. Then she avoided my gaze, stood up and said, "No need." Just as she was about to go back to her room, I suddenly thought of something and immediately said, "Let's go watch the sunrise. I promised you last time." Feng Wan paused, hesitating for a moment, then turned around and looked at me with red eyes, and asked, "When?" "There's a chance." Seeing her take up this topic, it means there's a chance that she can be coaxed. "Right now." I looked at the weather. "It will be sunny tomorrow morning and the sunrise should be beautiful," I said. "I'll clean it up." Seeing Feng Wan agreed, I breathed a sigh of relief. I turned around and took out the tent and sleeping bag that I had hidden in the bottom of the box. Then I reminded Feng Wan and the other man to bring their pajamas, and took out some snacks and fruits that Feng Wan liked from the refrigerator. After about 20 minutes, Feng Wan had almost packed up, put on his bag and followed me out the door. After I stuffed all my stuff into the trunk and got in the car, I was about to start the car when Feng Wan, who was sitting in the passenger seat, said, "Let's go to Dongshan." "Dongshan?" "Yes, Dongshan Island." "Good." I checked and it's only about 100 kilometers, about 2 hours, drive. Dongshan Island is a relatively small scenic spot in China. The scenery is really good, and the sunrise is also unique. I wanted to go there for a long time when I was in college, but in the end I couldn't go for various reasons. After work, I was in Xiamen, although the distance is not far, but I never went there, and I felt quite regretful before. Sitting in the car and looking at the receding scenery outside, Feng Wan was in a much better mood than before and started chatting with me from time to time. "How's your work going?" I suddenly thought of this and asked. "There are 2 interviews next Monday and Wednesday." "How's the company? Is it far?" "A foreign company called, Doing International Trade. The one on Wednesday is a self-owned brand, but the company is very powerful, HW. HW? The one in Jimei." This girl really impressed me. "Yes, you are so outstanding, it's not surprising that they asked you to interview. But if you go to Jimei, it will be a bit far to commute to get off work. If that doesn't work, I will help you find a house in Jimei." "That way." "No." Feng Wan interrupted me, "I'll live here with you." Seeing my surprised expression, Feng Wan also realized that something was wrong and added, "I don't have money to pay the rent, I don't want it." I was a little angry and laughed when I heard this. "If you get into HW, would you still care about the rent?" Feng Wan curled his lips and said, "Anyway, I just don't want it." Just as I was about to continue teasing, the phone rang. Both of them looked at the name on the car screen at the same time. Suqing. I was about to answer the call when I noticed Feng Wan in the passenger seat turned his head and looked at me playfully. "Answer it." I was going to answer it, but why is your look making my back creep out? Just as I was about to pick up the phone, Feng Wan was quicker and pressed the car Bluetooth. "Senior, are you asleep?" Suqing's crisp voice came. "It's not even 10 o'clock yet, no. Are you free tomorrow? I want to treat you to a meal." "I can't do it tomorrow. I'm on my way to Dongshan with Feng Wan. I won't be back until tomorrow night." Feng Wan, who had a gossipy face but was openly eavesdropping, rolled her eyes at me when she saw me expose her, and then shouted crisply, "Hello, senior sister Tilda." Suqing, realizing that there was someone nearby, immediately greeted Feng Wan, and then fell silent again. Feng Wan then spoke first. "Senior, if you are in a hurry, I will ask my brother to rush back tomorrow morning." This girl was clearly teasing Suqing. What does being anxious mean? Sure enough, Suqing was a little bit at a loss after what Feng Wan did. No, don't worry. I'm just asking. That's all right, bye. Toot, toot, toot. Suqing, who was thin-skinned, felt guilty about being caught by outsiders, so she hung up the phone. I didn't think it was a big deal, it was just a dinner date, not something that could be seen in public. I didn't realize you have such a good relationship with people. It's only been such a short time since the graduation ceremony, and he took the initiative to ask you out. Feng Wan teased. Isn't it normal to ask me out for dinner? It's not like you're asking me to rob a bank. Seeing that I looked normal, Feng Wan said, then, can I go? Sure, I'll tell her then. I said frankly. It was so hard to coax her into submission, and if another misunderstanding occurred because of a phone call, that would be a real headache. Feng Wan looked at me carefully, and after a while asked, really? I said calmly, what's the big deal? It's just a dinner with friends. It's like me taking you to my roommate's wedding. Is there anything wrong with that? She looked at me carefully for a while, then turned away and muttered softly, forget it, I'm not going. Well, I haven't agreed to her yet. Besides, I'll watch the sunrise with you and walk around Dongshan tomorrow. It's a rare opportunity for me to go out with you, so I have to enjoy myself. I don't even know when I'll be back. Seeing that I really didn't take Suqing's invitation seriously and that I would accompany her to have fun in Dongshan, the girl's mood finally cleared up. She didn't say anything, but when I looked at the rearview mirror, I saw that the girl was smiling happily in the reflection of the car window. Seeing this, I also started laughing. Feng Wan, who reacted, blushed slightly and angrily hit me with his arm, which made me laugh again. What are you laughing at? Shut your mouth. Feng Wan took out a candy from his pocket, tore open the package and fed it directly to my mouth. This girl isn't that hard to please. Chapter 16, Trouble with a Double Sleeping Bag. There was still an hour's drive to Dongshan Island, so I asked Feng Wan to sleep in the car. It was past 11 p.m. when we finally arrived at our destination. After finding a parking lot and parking the car, I shook Feng Wan, who was sleeping. Wake up, the sun has risen tilde. Feng Wan, who was still asleep, believed it and woke up immediately. He looked around with a dull look. It was pitch black. He was stunned for a while before turning around and looking at me with resentment. You are so annoying. After getting off the car, I put on my tent and sleeping bag, and then took the prepared snacks and clothes, and we walked to the beach. Fortunately, the beach is a scenic spot after all. Although there are few people at night, the street lights on the coastal trail are still on. The two of us walked for more than 10 minutes to the beach. The salty sea breeze and the sound of the waves at night made this close-to-nature environment make people unconsciously relax a lot. Looking at the scattered tents on the beach in front of him, Feng Wan looked around and said, let's go there. Following the direction of Feng Wan's finger, I saw a long sandy beach in the distance extending into the sea, about 100 meters long. Are you sure? If the tide rises tonight, it won't matter if I can swim. But as for you, I can only wait for a few days until you float to the surface and then call the police to get you out. Of course, that assumes you don't get eaten by fish. I said indifferently. Feng Wan. She looked at me speechlessly. You look like you deserve a beating when you talk like that. Seeing that she was about to take action, I quickly picked up my things and walked forward quickly. Okay, right there. When I got closer, I found a wooden chair in the middle of the beach, and a folded parasol next to it, which should be the position of the lifeguard during the day. I squatted down and took a closer look at the chair and the parasol with the help of the light of my mobile phone. The legs of the chair and the lower part of the parasol were dry, and there was no sign of seawater corrosion, which means that this place will not be submerged by high tide for a long time. What are you doing? Want to steal the chair? Feng Wan looked at me curiously. I'm watching this place to see if the tide will rise at night and sweep you down to feed the fish tilde, I said unhappily. It's safe here, where do you think we should pitch our tent? Let's go there. Feng Wan pointed to a relatively spacious place. I put the backpack on the ground and started to take out the tent roof and brackets. Fortunately, I had used them a lot in camping before, so it only took me 10 minutes to finish them all. I looked back at Feng Wan and saw her mouth slightly opened, looking at me with a little surprise. What's wrong? So soon? Isn't it simple? Last time I lent you the tent to go out with Tang Tang and the others, we pitched it for an hour and it was still wrong, so we ended up asking others to help us. I suppressed my laughter and said, that's because you are gifted. Feng Wan frowned, are you laughing at us? No. Before she could figure it out, I picked up the sleeping bag and suddenly realized a serious problem. It was a double sleeping bag. Although I reminded Feng Wan to bring pajamas before leaving, I still felt a little weird sleeping in the same sleeping bag with her. Seeing that I stopped what I was doing, Feng Wan came up and asked, what's wrong? I didn't say anything, just raised my hand. Feng Wan looked at the sleeping bag in my hand, opened it, lifted it up and took a look, then his face turned red. Because Feng Wan would occasionally borrow my tent when she was in college, I have 2 single sleeping bags at home. This double sleeping bag was bought by Feng Wan when she and her roommate went camping. After all, it was normal for 2 women to squeeze together. They returned it together later, but my mistake was that I did not check before going out. I brought the wrong one. I said helplessly. What should we do then? I'll go look around first. The scenic spot must be selling them, but I don't know if it's closed. I'll go with you. Feng Wan said hurriedly. I can go by myself. You just stay in the tent. Even though it's summer, it's windy outside at night. No, I'm scared alone. Feng Wan said in a low voice. I looked around. The beach Feng Wan chose was relatively remote from the main entrance of the scenic area, and the light was not good. I guess no one would come to take the things. Okay, you come with me, and leave the things here. It's okay. After we put down our luggage, I took out 4 of the longest nails and nailed the ropes of the tent to the beach, otherwise the tent would float in the sea when we came back, which would be a complete disaster. We walked for half an hour, and all the shops in the scenic area were closed. We asked other tourists and they said it would take at least half an hour to drive to a place where people lived. We had no choice but to think about the hotel. Beauty, do you have sleeping bags here? After finding the only open hotel near the scenic area, I shamelessly walked up to ask. Sleeping bags. The beautiful lady at the front desk looked at us curiously. Originally we had tents, but they've all been rented out. We don't have any sleeping bags now. Sorry. My last glimmer of hope was shattered, so I had no choice but to give up. Just as I was about to leave, Feng Wan spoke to the beautiful receptionist. Beauty, do you have any rooms left in your hotel? If not, we can get one. You can even take the quilt out and use it. The beautiful receptionist shook her head apologetically and said with an apologetic smile, there are no rooms left. Then she suddenly seemed to remember something and said, wait a moment. She turned and went to a room next door and took out a blanket. This is mine. Don't worry, it's clean. The hotel washes it every day. If you don't mind, you can take it. It's still a little cold at the beach at night. Feng Wan insisted on paying, but the beautiful receptionist still refused. Finally, she said, couples often come here to play and forget to bring things. We will help you if we can. You're welcome. Feng Wan, who was misunderstood, did not explain anything. He took the blanket and hugged it tightly in his arms, and thanked the receptionist. Then the receptionist suddenly asked, do you want to take a shower? I was a little confused, and then the receptionist shook her hand and said with a smile, don't get me wrong, the hotel rooms are sold out, but I see you must be on the way here. We have rooms for internal employees, we can't rent them to you, but we can lend them to you to take a shower or something. I wanted to decline, but when I looked at Feng Wan, I saw that she looked very interested, so I did not refuse. Then the receptionist took Feng Wan to the next room. While Feng Wan was taking a shower, I chatted with the front desk and asked about the fun places around. She also gave me a lot of suggestions, which I wrote down one by one. After about 20 minutes, Feng Wan came out after taking a shower and drying her hair, and then I went in to take a shower. I came out in less than 10 minutes and saw Feng Wan chatting happily with the receptionist. After thanking the receptionist again and again, we prepared to return to the tent. Before leaving, the receptionist said to Feng Wan, I wish you and your boyfriend have fun tilde. I was about to explain when Feng Wan grabbed my arm and turned back to the receptionist and said with a smile, okay tilde, thank you Sister Chen tilde. Chapter 17 Insomnia. When I returned to the tent, I saw that Feng Wan looked embarrassed but didn't know what to say, so I understood and said, change into your pajamas. You can sleep in the sleeping bag at night and I'll just cover you with a blanket. After that, I left under the pretext of going to find a few more wooden sticks to secure the tent. When he came back a few minutes later, Feng Wan had already changed into pajamas and got into his sleeping bag. Are you cold? Fortunately, the sleeping bag is thick. I felt relieved after getting Feng Wan's affirmative answer, and then I took out my pajamas and changed directly outside the tent. When I got into the tent, Feng Wan was sitting in the corner in his pajamas and sleeping bag, looking at me quietly. The tent space is not big, so we have to make do with it, I said embarrassedly. Yeah. Feng Wan responded in a low voice, then moved to the side. I occupied a small space, then lay down and covered myself with the blanket. Are you cold? Feng Wan asked. Listening to the whistling wind outside the tent, I felt that whether I would freeze to death tonight was entirely up to fate. However, I still said calmly, it's not cold. Don't you know the saying that a guy's butt is so hot that you can make pancakes? Bar. Feng Wan spat at me, obviously not liking my joke, which was not really a dirty joke, and then she lay down carefully beside me. I checked. The sunrise time tomorrow morning is 6:20. I set the alarm for 6 o'clock. You can sleep peacefully. I will call you when the time comes. Feng Wan nodded, then lay down with peace of mind. I lay in the small space looking at the roof of the tent, but I couldn't fall asleep. The tent was not actually very big, and two people were lying close to each other inside. Although there were blankets and sleeping bags between us, I could feel Feng Wan pressing against me. It was the first time I lay with her since I was a child, and I still felt guilty and had all sorts of wild thoughts. I kept my eyes closed for about half an hour, and suddenly I heard Feng Wan's voice, "Are you asleep?" "No. I can't sleep either." "Is it cold?" "It's not cold, I just can't sleep." This girl is just like me. The tent was quiet for a while, and then Feng Wan spoke first. "Are you in a relationship with that Suqing?" I raised my hand and hit her on the head. Feng Wan screamed in pain. I asked, "How did you know that?" "It just feels like you haven't had any contact with other girls before, except for this Suqing, who left her contact information and took the initiative to ask you out. Also, I think she's pretty, so you don't have any feelings for her." "I can't say I have any idea about her. I just met her in college before, and she's not a bad person. I have a good impression of her at most." Good impression. Feng Wan pondered, but many people end up together because of good impression. "You little bastard, where do you get all these twisted ideas from?" "Forget it, you are a fool anyway, I won't talk to you anymore, go to sleep." After saying that, he turned over and lay on his side, and never paid any attention to me again. Being interrupted by Feng Wan's chat, my messy thoughts were a little better. I closed my eyes, and I didn't know how long it took before I slowly fell asleep. Midnight, at the beach. I don't know what time it was when I woke up to a gust of cold wind. There was constant sound of waves outside. I didn't know why the sea breeze suddenly blew. The thin tent, coupled with the fact that it was located at the point where the beach extended into the sea without any shelter, was a bit overwhelmed by the slightly stronger wind. I turned sideways to press the edge of the tent, then huddled down and tried to cover my whole body with the blanket. Although it was somewhat effective, I still felt a little cold. I tried every way to make myself fall asleep as quickly as possible. Just when I was about to fall asleep, I vaguely felt a small hand reaching out to me in the dark, touching the blanket outside me, and then gently touching my nose. "Are you asleep?" Feng Wan asked in a low voice. I was so sleepy that I didn't make a sound. Feng Wan pushed me twice and said, "Wake up, Tilder." "Huh? What's wrong?" I rubbed my eyes, thinking Feng Wan was going out to the bathroom or something else. "It's windy outside, and your blanket is too thin. Your nose is cold. It's okay. There are enough blankets. Don't you know that men are not afraid of cold? Are you cold? How about I cover you with clothes over your sleeping bag? You just want to show off." Feng Wan's tone was a little dissatisfied. After a few seconds of silence, Feng Wan muttered softly, "Why don't you come in?" "What?" Feng Wan's voice was so soft that I really didn't hear what she said. Then, I felt her turn over and face me. "I mean, you should get into the sleeping bag too. It's too cold at night, and there are still several hours before dawn. After hearing what Feng Wan said, I felt a sudden panic for no reason. While I was hesitating, I felt her pull my blanket away, then sit up and grope for something in the dark. The next second, the light of her mobile phone illuminated the tent. In the dim light, Feng Wan adjusted her sleeping bag and squeezed herself to the side. I don't know if it was an illusion or the light was dim, but I seemed to see an expression on Feng Wan's face that I had never seen before, as if shy. I still didn't move. Perhaps Feng Wan thought I was too slow, so he couldn't help but get a little angry. Why are you being so fussy, you grown man? We are brother and sister, so what's wrong with living in a tent? Hearing this, I stopped worrying, otherwise it would seem like I had ulterior motives. I stood up and carefully opened the mouth of the sleeping bag, then slowly leaned in. After I got into the sleeping bag, Feng Wan also covered the sleeping bag with a blanket. Is it warm now? Yeah. I was confused and didn't know what else to say. In the sleeping bag, in order to avoid physical contact with Feng Wan, I squeezed to the left as much as possible. In the end, I still underestimated the heartlessness of this girl. Because, not long after, a warm little foot stretched out and then pressed against my cold foot. I instinctively wanted to hide, but Feng Wan immediately interrupted me. Don't move, your feet are cold, I'll cover them for you, if you catch a cold and infect me, you'll be dead. I was leaning against Feng Wan's little feet, feeling the warmth coming from the side of my body. It seemed warm, but it was a great torture for me at the moment. Feng Wan, are you really careless or stupid? I didn't say anything else, firstly because I didn't know what to say, and secondly because I was afraid of provoking this girl to do something excessive. Fortunately, Feng Wan still couldn't get over the sleepiness, and the two of them stayed silent. After a while, I heard her steady and long breathing next to me. I was finally able to relax my tense body and breathed a sigh of relief. I thought the night would pass peacefully. I don't know how long I couldn't stand the insomnia and finally fell asleep. But when I opened my eyes the next morning, I found that I overestimated my vigilance and underestimated Feng Wan's disturbance. When I was woken up by the alarm clock, Feng Wan was resting his head on one of my arms and hugging me with his whole body. Chapter 18 Sunrise. When I woke up and looked at the scene in front of me, my mind went blank. Feng Wan hugged me tightly, and I don't know if it was because it was too hot for the two of us to be squeezed together, but beads of sweat could be vaguely seen between the hairs on her forehead. The buttons of her pajamas were unbuttoned, revealing her smooth and white shoulders. Fortunately, the black brass straps on her shoulders were still firmly tied on, otherwise it would be hard to explain. I carefully moved her legs off me, then gently hugged her shoulders, trying to lift her off my body before she woke up. However, my right arm was numb from being pressed for too long, so I failed to hold her and she fell heavily. Feng Wan, who was not conscious, slowly opened her eyes and looked at me, who was lying sideways in front of her and holding her, with a confused look on her face. Then, Feng Wan, who slowly came to her senses, turned red at a visible speed and her eyes quickly became misty. Frightened, she quickly stretched out her hands, supported my chest, and asked in a trembling voice, What are you doing? I pulled my arm out as if nothing had happened, then got out of the sleeping bag, covered her shoulders with the blanket, and said calmly, The alarm is ringing, get up. The sun will rise in 20 minutes. I was just about to unzip my clothes and get out to hide, but Feng Wan grabbed my arm with strength from nowhere, then looked at his exposed shoulders, quickly pulled his clothes up, and then stared at me and said, You did it. When I heard her question, I felt my scalp tingling for a moment. Sister, please forgive me. I didn't sleep much all night. How could I have the energy to provoke you? Besides, how could I do anything to you? You don't even know that you fell asleep and entangled with me like an octopus. I can't kick you away, okay? Seeing that I was getting anxious, Feng Wan still stared at me with a blank expression. Although she had not made any mistakes, she felt guilty and I had no idea what she was thinking. Fortunately, Feng Wan quickly let go of her hand, and I unzipped my clothes and ran out. I don't know if it was an hallucination, but I heard a soft puff sound from the tent behind me. Standing outside the tent, the sea breeze soothed my burning cheeks and my mood, and I felt much calmer. It was still pitch black all around, but a ray of light could be seen in the distance to the east. It was almost dawn tilder. I changed my clothes in no time and stood quietly on the beach. After a while, Feng Wan also changed his clothes and came out of the tent. I didn't say anything, and Feng Wan also tacitly didn't mention what happened just now, and even took out some snacks and handed them to me, saying, "Have something to eat." I took the bag and picked up a bag of bread and started eating. Feng Wan also ate some biscuits in small bites, and then we both looked towards the east at the same time. After a while, the originally dark sky above the sea level began to gradually turn blue, and the white fish belly below slowly turned orange. Although I have seen the sunrise many times, every time I face such a scene, I can't help but feel shocked. Feng Wan also widened his eyes, and one hand was nervously holding my arm. Within 2 minutes, the sky had turned from blue to white, and the sea level seemed to be hung with a piece of deep yellow brocade. Between the sea and the sky, a dot of deep red began to slowly rise. "The sun is out!" Feng Wan exclaimed in surprise. He then quickly picked up his phone and began to record the scene. In less than a minute, the sunrise was already halfway visible. The fiery, deep red sun dimmed the originally bright sky around it, while the nearby beaches and buildings were all covered with a layer of light gold. The sun rises like a flying mirror, and the clouds form a sea tower. Looking at the beautiful scenery in front of me, I couldn't help but blurt out, "You are so conceited, you even recited a poem. Come on, let's take a photo together." Feng Wan quickly pulled me, and then we both turned our backs to the sun. Feng Wan got close to my face, made a cute expression, and took a photo together. The whole sunrise lasted for a few minutes, and soon, the sun was completely above the sea. From a distance, it looked like the sea was cooking the sun. Feng Wan took pictures for a full 10 minutes, then urged me to pack up the tent and go for a walk on the beach. After putting the tent and other things back in the car, it was only a little after 7 o'clock in the morning. Feng Wan seemed to have thought of something, asked me to wait for her, and then ran to a nearby milk tea shop, and came back with 3 cups of milk tea in her hands. "You want 2 drinks? You're so stupid. This cup is for Sister Chen from the hotel." Feng Wan laughed angrily. I suddenly realized it, and immediately took my blanket and went to the hotel with Feng Wan. Fortunately, we went early, and the beautiful lady named Chen at the front desk said that she would be off work in half an hour. After returning the things, the two of us walked lightly on the beach, and I was forced to become Feng Wan's photographer. To put it bluntly, I was just free labor and a punching bag. Ouch, this lighting is not good. Don't you notice that my face is all black? This angle is wrong. Don't you see how short the person is in the photo? Brother, please don't make me angry. Do you have to take pictures when I blink? After being tortured for a whole morning, it was finally time to eat, and I finally had a suitable reason to return the phone to her. We found a small restaurant and ordered some home-cooked dishes. While I was ordering, Feng Wan was still pouting and flipping through the photos on her phone, muttering to herself, "You took so many photos, but I can't choose a few that are good. You really need to practice your photography skills. No girl can smile in a photo taken by a boy. This is a common problem. Don't you know that?" I thought to myself. After dinner, we went to several places recommended by the front desk lady last night. We ate and ate, which was a rare pleasure. I originally thought that in the afternoon when the sun was a little smaller, I would go swimming in the sea with Feng Wan. But this girl shook her head and refused. I thought she was afraid of swimming, but after a long discussion, I finally realized that this girl was simply embarrassed to wear a swimsuit. I laughed a lot and was beaten by her. It was almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon that Feng Wan, who was tired from playing, found a pavilion on the beach to sit down, and then asked me to buy 2 drinks nearby. Looking at Feng Wan, who was guzzling his drink, I asked, "Where else are we going?" Feng Wan sucked the fruit pulp in the milk tea, puffed up his mouth and shook his head, then swallowed it and burped a little shyly, "No, I'm going back, my legs are almost broken." On their way home, Feng Wan, who had played all day, fell asleep directly on the passenger seat. Looking at Feng Wan sleeping on her side, I couldn't help but feel relieved, because before she graduated, I rarely had the opportunity to be with her so happily. Before Feng Wan graduated, my parents often called and asked me to visit her more often and take better care of her. We arrived home before 6:30 in the evening. Seeing that Feng Wan was sleeping so soundly, I did not wake her up. I just parked the car and waited for her to sleep a little longer. As soon as I picked up my phone, I saw a message from Suqing. Are you back? How was your trip? Very good, the sunrise is beautiful, I recommend it to you. After I sent the message, Suqing replied almost immediately, and immediately said, I don't dare to run out alone, I'm afraid of getting lost. Chapter 19 I am his sister. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw Suqing's suggestive words. If you say she's smart, she's often dull, and if you say she's stupid, she's occasionally thoughtful. I didn't respond directly and pretended not to understand and replied casually. Then she replied, oh, a little disappointedly, but in the end I still said that if she was free next week, we could have dinner together, and she gladly accepted. After sleeping in the garage for about 40 minutes, Feng Wan finally woke up. Seeing that I was watching over her, she felt a little embarrassed. Why didn't you call me? Feng Wan stretched and asked. I was listening to you talking in your sleep. I wanted to play a trick on her out of boredom, so I made up an excuse. Talking in your sleep. Feng Wan suddenly sat up straight, then looked at me with wide eyes. No way, what did I say? Seeing Feng Wan's half-believing and half-doubting expression, I knew she had taken the bait. You spoke intermittently, but I could tell it was about your own secret tilde. I made up a story while observing her expression. Secret. Feng Wan was stunned for a moment, and then a trace of panic and temptation flashed in his eyes. What did I say? I didn't answer, but just looked into her eyes quietly. With my silence, Feng Wan was really panicked. What did I say? Feng Wan was a little anxious. Don't believe me, I just talk nonsense in my dreams, it can't be taken seriously. Seeing Feng Wan getting nervous, I didn't want to continue teasing her. Otherwise, if she cried, there would be a bloody storm in the house again. I opened the car door and got out. Before closing the door, I leaned over to look at Feng Wan, who was staring at me from the passenger seat, and said with a smile, you really do have a secret. Feng Wan was stunned. Seeing this, I hurriedly walked away. Sure enough, the next second, Feng Wan came out from the passenger seat in anger and ran after me, shouting, Stop, Feng. Do you think it's fun to tease me like this? Next time, I'll stuff your mouth with cement and fight you to the death, believe it or not. Fortunately, this episode passed quickly. Feng Wan had eaten all day, and I was also very full. So the two of us didn't cook dinner. At most, we could order takeout if we were hungry at night. After washing up early, we went back to our rooms to sleep. I was lying in bed and opened WeChat on my phone, only to find that Feng Wan had posted a circle of friends 10 minutes ago. In the 9-square grid, there were all the scenery photos of Dongshan Island today. In the middle was the photo of her holding me with the sunrise in the background. In the photo, Feng Wan made a scissors hand gesture, her face turned to my side, and smiled happily. I was exhausted from the day and didn't sleep much last night, so I slept for more than 10 hours. When I opened my eyes again, it was already the next morning. Feng Wan had an interview today. After preparing breakfast and knocking on the door to remind her not to be late, I left for the company early. Because I arrived at the company early, there was no one waiting for the elevator. After a while, a figure hurried over. I looked up and saw who this reckless guy was but Yunji. Then came a woman who I didn't know well. She was tall and dressed in a business suit. Her lips painted with bright red lipstick under a pair of sunglasses were very eye-catching. Although the sunglasses made it difficult to see her full appearance, it was still possible to judge that she was a very beautiful woman. Yunji was unusual today. He saw me but didn't chat with me like he usually does. I raised my hand and patted him on the shoulder, then said, You came early today. Yunji didn't even say anything, he just nodded at me and winked at me secretly. Did this kid take the wrong medicine today? I thought it was funny, so I teased him. Why? Now that you know I have a girlfriend, you're silent. Didn't you keep urging me to be your brother-in-law before? As soon as I said this, Yunji felt hopeless and leaned against the elevator wall. Even the woman next to him glanced at me, probably because she also thought this gossip was interesting. Fortunately, the elevator arrived soon. After the three of us got in, I pressed the 8th floor and the strange woman pressed the 12th floor. The 12th floor was the office of the company's senior executives. I guess she was going to see the boss. When we got to the 8th floor, I saw that Yunji had no intention of getting out of the elevator, so I reminded him, We're here. Come over. I just need to talk to you about something. Yarn Shu glanced at me, as if he had grabbed a life-saving straw, and was about to leave the elevator with me when the woman next to him suddenly said, "You are not allowed to get off." Hearing this, Yarn Shu immediately became like a mouse seeing a cat, and wilted all of a sudden. Then he retreated obediently. I was a little confused by the woman's words, so I asked, "Customer?" The woman didn't answer, and didn't even look at me. I was also a little angry at such impolite behavior, so I said, "Auntie, I'm talking to my colleague. If you're here to do something, just go upstairs by yourself. If you don't know the way, you can go to the first floor to find the security guard." The word "auntie" made Yarn Shu's eyes widen, and the woman next to me also looked up at me. I couldn't see the woman's expression at the moment, but from her frowning brows and the slightly protruding blue veins on her white hands, this woman must be angry. The woman looked at me for more than 10 seconds, then said, "I'm talking to him, what does it have to do with you? I'm his boss." I put one hand on Yarn Shu's shoulder, acting like a senior in the company protecting a newcomer. The woman took off her sunglasses, looked at me coldly, and said slowly, "I am his sister." What? The woman's words rolled through my head like a thunderbolt. I looked at Yarn Shu next to me, and he nodded at me like a primary school student who made a mistake and was punished to stand. My God, what's going on? No wonder Yarn Shu is so honest today. Thinking of my teasing about being his brother-in-law just now, even though I think I'm thick-skinned, I feel a little hot on my face at this moment. I walked out of the elevator with a wry smile and pressed the door closing button. Then I watched Yarn Shu's desperate eyes disappear in front of me as the elevator door slowly closed. This Yarn Shu used to brag to me about how his sister was gentle, beautiful and kind, but now it turns out that he is trying every means to push me into the fire. I thought this misunderstanding was over, but just at noon, Sister Liu received a call, then stood up and looked at me with strange eyes. "Feng Chen, the secretary just called and said that the boss wants to see you." Boss? I was stunned. Mr. Wu. Since I joined the company, the highest level boss I have been in contact with and know is called Wu Guanhai. I have heard before that Mr. Wu is only temporarily serving as the general manager and the real boss of the company is someone else, but for some reason, I have never seen him. Sister Liu looked strange and shook her head. Sherry is back. Sherry, the real boss of the company. I had barely heard of her name, so why did she ask to see me? Suddenly, the face of the woman in the elevator flashed through my mind. No way, I can't be so unlucky. Chapter 20 Sherry. When I reached the 12th floor, the secretary was already waiting for me at the elevator entrance. It was not a good sign for the secretary of the boss to be waiting for a nobody in the company at the elevator entrance. I was taken to the boss's office and the secretary knocked gently. When I saw Mr. Wu and Yarn Shu coming out, I knew the worst had happened. The secretary closed the door and left after I entered. In the huge office, the woman I had met before looked at me with interest. "Boss Yarn, you called me here, are you going to punish me?" Now that things have come to this, what happened in the morning was simply a misunderstanding. I think it's not appropriate for such a big boss to take it too seriously. After all, his status is there, so I just shamelessly get straight to the point. "You think so?" the woman said calmly, then gestured for me to sit down with her eyes. Sitting on the sofa, I took a closer look at the woman in front of me. She had long, smooth hair, gold-rimmed glasses, an OL outfit, and long, straight legs with suggestive stockings. This fairy-like beautiful woman was actually the sister of Yarn Shu, the silly boy? "I've been in the company for so long, and this is the first time I've met you, Mr. Yarn. Apart from what happened this morning, I can't think of any other possibilities." The woman stood up and poured a cup of water, then said, "Just call me Sherry. I just returned to China and I'm not used to being called President Yarn." She took a sip of water, paused, and then turned to me again and said, "It was indeed an accident to meet you this morning, but calling you here has nothing to do with personal matters. It's purely for business." Business? I was stunned for a moment. "Yarn, Sherry, I'm sorry, I really can't think of any business you have that is directly related to me. What do you think of poplar trees?" Sherry asked directly without beating around the bush. Poplars. Young people are full of energy, and very serious about their work, but I thought about it and wanted to find a suitable word to describe them. They communicate with people more frequently and are very sincere to others. So euphemistic. To put it bluntly, you have no control over your words and are not smart enough. Sherry hit the nail on the head. It was obvious that she understood her brother well. I smiled, as a sign of agreement. We can just talk about work, but I've warned him about things outside of work. Feng Chen, you're smarter than Yarn Shu, you should know that there are some things you can't say. Sherry looked at me calmly. This woman was warning me not to talk about Yarn Shu looking for me to be his brother-in-law. Although she was reminding and warning, her slightly red face still betrayed her. After all, she was an unmarried woman, and judging by her age, she should be about the same age as me. She was still too thin-skinned. Don't worry about that. I'm not that talkative. We don't discuss irrelevant matters in the company. That's fine, you can go now. Sherry sat back in her office chair and picked up a document. Just as I took the last step to open the door, Sherry said, I have already arranged for Liu Shu, Yarn Shu will follow you from now on. I stood at the door in a daze, not knowing whether to leave or stay. Boss Yarn Shu followed me. What does that mean? Sherry just looked up at me, didn't say anything, and continued to deal with her work. After I went out, I saw Yarn Shu looking around furtively at the corner. When he saw me coming out, he waved to let me pass. When he got close to me, Yarn Shu immediately pulled me in a flattering manner. Brother Chen, dear brother, are you okay? What did my sister say to you just now? Let's put your sister's matter aside for now, Yarn Shu, you hid it very well. Are you a royal relative, coming here incognito for a private visit? Brother Chen, this matter cannot be explained in a few words. Yarn Shu scratched his head awkwardly after being exposed, then stole a glance at Sherry's office and whispered, Come on, let's go downstairs and have lunch. I'll treat you. The two of them came downstairs, and Yarn Shu found a chain fast food restaurant. They ordered some food and then found a seat to sit down. After a conversation, I learned that Sherry was Yarn Shu's half-sister. Her real name was Yarn Anruor, a top student. She had just returned from studying abroad and officially returned to the company according to her father's wishes. According to common sense, shouldn't the company be handed over to you? I couldn't help but ask curiously after hearing Yarn Shu's words. Don't mention it. Hearing this, Yarn Shu frowned. I thought it was a bloody drama of siblings fighting for the real power of the company, but the boy's next words made me understand why his sister said she was big-mouthed and heartless. What's good about the company? I'd rather go out and have fun, date, travel than stay in the office all day. My dad beats me a lot for this, and my sister scolds me all the time. If I couldn't bear my dad's beating, I wouldn't come here. My sister doesn't manage well. I got a few vertical lines on my head when I heard that. Boy, your father and sister didn't hit you too hard. You are indeed a second-generation rich man, and your ideas are different from those of ordinary people like us. Brother, you said it would be fine if I just stayed at home and waited for death, but I didn't. I also found a job and started a business, but they insisted on forcing me to come back. What can I do? Are you looking for a job and starting a business? I thought to myself that I had underestimated him. Yes. Yarn Shu said seriously, I stole my father's private money and wanted to open a fried chicken shop in front of Xiamen University. I don't have to worry about too many people, I can get up at any time I want, and I can still make money. How easy it is. Looking at this idiot, I didn't know what to say for a long time, and finally asked, and then? My money was defrauded, and I had no living expenses, so I went home. I widened my eyes, and finally sighed heavily, patted his shoulder and said, You are really wasting your talent by joining the company. Who said it wasn't? Hey, you're the only one in the company who understands me, Brother Chen. How about you help me think of a way to get me out of this situation? The boy rolled his eyes, obviously unable to hold back his fart. Forget it. I don't want to interfere in your affairs. I can't afford to offend you and your sister. Besides, your sister just asked you to follow me. Did she tell you? Yarn Shu looked confused and shook his head. Well, there was no way to find out from him, so he had to go back to the company and ask Sister Liu. Back on the 8th floor, Sister Liu quietly pulled me aside and asked in a low voice, Is it okay to go upstairs at noon? I asked the secretary what happened earlier, and she said she didn't know, but said Sherry didn't look well. I shook my head to reassure her, and Sister Liu breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I was wondering how you could possibly offend her. By the way, HR found me at noon and said that the guy named Yarn Shu in the company will come to our department tomorrow, and I'll assign him to you. I nodded. He really came. It was going to be fun from then on. At about 4 p.m., Feng Wan sent me an address, and then another message: "Come here after get off work, I'll treat you to a meal." I had been busy all day and hadn't had time to ask her about the results of her interview today, but her performance should have been pretty good. "Okay, how was the interview today?" "That's right, don't you see who I am?" "Okay, I'll be there when I get off work." Chapter 21: Suqing's Truth After Drinking. When I arrived at the place after get off work, Feng Wan was already waiting in the restaurant. Holding a cup of milk tea, she saw me come in and immediately waved at me. "You look so radiant, tell me what the result was." Feng Wan rolled her eyes at me cheerfully and said, "We interviewed more than 60 people today, and only 2 were left. I asked them to have a second interview with the boss next Monday to decide which one will be kept. Do you think you have a good chance of success?" I poured a cup of tea and took a sip to moisten my throat. "I think it's okay, but I also want to go to the interview on Wednesday. If you want to go and give it a try. There's nothing wrong with that. Employment is a two-way choice. Going to interview more companies also means more insurance." "Okay then, Feng Wan handed over the menu. "Order whatever you want, today's consumption will be charged to me." "Oh, you're usually a stingy guy, but you're generous today," I joked, causing Feng Wan to clench his fist and show his protest to me. Today, we were both in a good mood. We chatted for more than an hour while eating before finishing dinner and going home. After washing up, I just entered the study room, and Feng Wan, who had changed into pajamas, walked in quietly with a pad and a glass of milk. Seeing me staring at her, the girl raised her hand and swore, "Don't make a sound, don't make trouble." I picked up the Cai Gentan that I hadn't finished reading before and started reading it. And Feng Wan, today, was indeed watching the drama next to me with headphones on. After almost half an hour, I put down the book and rubbed my eyes. "Are you tired? Take a break, don't let your eyes go blind someday. Listen to some music." Before I could say anything, Feng Wan put an earphone in my ear and said, "This is my favorite song." A cheerful English song came from the headphones. "I found a love for me, darling, just dive right in and follow my lead." I closed my eyes and lay in the chair listening halfway, when suddenly the sound of the earphones turned into the sound of a ringing phone. "Dad is calling." Feng Wan pulled off his earphones and put the phone in my hand. "You answer it." Feng Wan's actions made me a little confused. It was just a phone call, and Dad was calling you. Why did he let me answer it? I pressed the answer button, and the girl clicked on the hands-free mode. "Xiao Wan, are you at home?" "Dad, it's me. Xiao Wan is with me. We are all at home." "Oh, Dad smiled when he heard it, and then said, "I saw Xiao Wan's WeChat yesterday. Did you go out to play? That's good. Take her out for a walk when you have nothing to do. Xiao Wan, she may quarrel with you verbally, but she depends on you very much in her heart. You have to take care of her more. You don't know that when you were in college." I was just curious about what my dad was going to say, when Feng Wan, who was standing next to me, grabbed the phone and quickly turned off the speakerphone. He looked at me in panic, then turned his back and said, "Dad, please stop talking nonsense." I didn't hear what my dad said, but later I could only vaguely hear that he was laughing happily on the phone. There was something wrong with these two people. After being told this by my dad, Feng Wan felt a little embarrassed to stay in the study room, so he said, "I'm sleepy," and then slipped back to his room. Ever since Feng Wan moved in, it seems that things are different from before. Suddenly, I remembered what Baiju said 2 days ago: "You two don't look like siblings, you look like lovers." Thinking carefully, the current living conditions of the two of you are sometimes a little ambiguous. Thinking of this, I shook my head in self-mockery. What are you thinking about? This is your sister who grew up with you. Even if you are little close, it is normal for family members to get along with each other. What is there to worry about? Just as I was comforting myself, the phone rang. I picked it up and saw that it was Suqing. "Senior." As soon as I picked up the phone, Suqing's slightly drunken voice came over. "Suqing? What's wrong? Have you been drinking?" "A little bit. Colleagues, they all drank it." It took me 5 minutes to find out from Suqing's intermittent and illogical words that she had gone out for dinner with her colleagues from school today, and then drank some red wine. She thought she could go home alone, but the red wine had a strong after effect, and she gradually lost consciousness after going out. Now she doesn't even know where she is, so she called me in a daze. After nearly 10 minutes of laborious communication with her, I finally got her to send me her location on her phone. Then I immediately went back to my room, changed my clothes, and prepared to go look for her. Are you going out? Feng Wan heard the noise and came out to ask. Suqing drank too much and can't find her place now. I'll go take her home. Otherwise, it's not safe for a drunk girl to be outside. Feng Wan nodded, and then asked again, will you come back in the evening? If I don't come back, you'll make me sleep on the street tilder, I laughed angrily. Oh, by the way, I don't think I found my keys. Please give them to me. I'm going to go downstairs to buy something later. Call me when you come back and I'll open the door for you. Without thinking, I gave the key to Feng Wan and went downstairs. After about half an hour, I arrived at the location Suqing sent me, but I didn't see anyone. I was anxious and called Suqing again, but she didn't answer. I called her twice, but she still didn't answer. Fortunately, I had confirmed with her repeatedly when I was at home, so the approximate range was here. I got out of the car and started looking along the road. During this time, I kept calling her, but after half an hour, I didn't see her. Just as I was about to call the police, I heard two catcalls from the alley next to me. My attention was drawn to the alley and I looked over. I could vaguely see a figure leaning against the debris at the end of the alley. I turned on the light of my phone and walked closer. Who else could it be but Suqing? This guy was leaning against the wall and had fallen asleep, holding a kitten tightly in his arms. A big cat next to him tried to pull Suqing with his hands, but she didn't let go at all, which made the mother cat anxious and kept meowing. Suqing tilder, after calling out several times, Suqing slowly opened her eyes and stared at me for a long time. Fortunately, she didn't recognize me. Senior, you're here. Hurry up and get up. I'll take you home. Suqing slowly lowered her head, then took the kitten out of her arms. Look, this kitten is so cute tilder. If you don't let go, the mother cat will be anxious and cry. I took the kitten from Suqing's hands and put it on the ground under the concerned look of the mother cat. Then the big cat grabbed the kitten's neck and crawled into the debris nearby. I put my clothes on Suqing's shoulders and helped her up with great effort. After I put her in the car, just as I was about to drive, Suqing grabbed my arm and said, "Don't drive yet, it hurts tilder." Judging from her reaction, she probably drank a lot and might vomit at any time. After a while, Suqing was clamming to get off the car again. Then, at 11 o'clock at night, there was a man and a woman sitting on the curb. Suqing sat beside me, hugged her knees with her hands and buried her head in them, then began to talk to herself, first about the pressure at home, then about her current work, and then she talked about me. Senior, do you know? Before, when I just met you, it was really the happiest time for me, just like a child who knew nothing, and had a brother who protected me. Let me tell you a secret. Har, actually at that time, I often found excuses to get close to you, just to see you more, but then you fell in love, and I felt like I lost my soul. I was afraid that you would feel troubled, but I still couldn't help but want to pay attention to your life tilder. As she spoke, Suqing sat up and rested her head on my shoulder. I want to know everything about you. When I see you and Chen Milan together, I feel so upset tilder. Chapter 22 Overnight. Suqing, you are drunk. Oh, you're so annoying, don't interrupt me. She bumped her head against me in dissatisfaction, and then continued, later, before graduation, you broke up with Chen Milan. I saw you were distracted all day long, and I wanted to comfort you but didn't know how to start. Until the night before graduation, I saw you throw something into Daoshan Lake. I knew that thing must be very important to you, so I found the school security office and said that a valuable thing was thrown into the lake. That night, 2 security guards rowed a boat and took me to fish for 3 hours, and finally found it. At that time, I was thinking, I want to give it back to you, but then you changed your contact information, and I never saw you again. At this point, Suqing was not sure if she was angry or what. She slapped me on the shoulder lightly. Why don't you leave me your contact information? There's no news at all. You don't know how happy I am to see you again. I listened quietly to Suqing telling me what had happened. I finally understood how the diary that I had thrown away was returned to me by Suqing. This silly girl kept the diary secretly for 3 years after she got it back. I glanced at Suqing, who had fallen asleep again, reached out my hand to wipe away the tears from her cheeks, then touched her head. Suqing seemed to sense something in her sleep and leaned on my shoulder again. After sorting out my thoughts, I stood up slowly and carried Suqing into the car. I knew where she lived, but I didn't know their house number. It wouldn't be appropriate to take her to a hotel at night and leave her there alone. After thinking it over, I decided to take her home first. It was already past 12 o'clock when I got home. I had just called Feng Wan when the door opened. Looking at Feng Wan in front of me, I asked curiously, "You didn't sleep? Are you waiting for me to come back?" Feng Wan didn't answer, but just looked at Suqing, who was on my shoulder. "Why did you bring her home?" After entering the room, I told Feng Wan the whole story, but of course I omitted what Suqing said about me after she drank. After hearing the explanation, Feng Wan's frown relaxed a little. He helped Suqing to the sofa, then looked at me and asked, "She sleeps in the same room with you? What are you thinking about? She and I are just friends. It's okay to joke with me, but she's a girl, you can't say anything nonsense." I looked at Suqing on the sofa. "Take her to wash up, and she will sleep in my room later, and I'll sleep on the sofa." Feng Wan curled her lips when she heard that. "Yeah, that's right, an ordinary friend. An ordinary friend would call you specifically when he's drunk. You, an ordinary friend, would also rush out to find someone and bring him back in the end." "I don't believe it, Tilda." When I was about to speak, the girl interrupted me immediately and said, "Forget it, she will sleep with me, so I can take care of her when she gets up at night. You sleep by yourself, otherwise if she sleeps in your room by herself, who knows if you will sneak in the middle of the night." After Feng Wan took her to wash and brush her teeth and helped her back to her room, I turned off the lights in the living room and went back to my room. Lying on the bed, Suqing's nonsense kept echoing in my ears. As a result, I couldn't sleep. The next morning, when I got up early to prepare breakfast, and Feng Wan and Suqing washed up and sat at the dining table, I noticed that all three of them had dark circles under their eyes. "Senior, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have drunk yesterday. I caused trouble for you and Xiao Wan." Suqing looked apologetic. It was obvious that she seldom drank and she never expected that the after effects of red wine would be so strong. "Sister Suqing, I'm fine. It's all my brother's fault. He was so nervous when he knew you were drunk that he went out to look for you for several hours and finally came home at 2 or 3 in the morning. When he brought you back, his arms were almost weak and his forehead was covered in sweat." Feng Wan looked at Suqing with a smile and enthusiastically poured her a glass of milk. Suqing felt even more guilty when she heard this, and I was also very upset. I didn't refute you saying that I was nervous, but it was pure fabrication to say that I didn't get home until 2 or 3 in the morning, holding her in my arms, and sweating all over. Seeing my questioning look, Feng Wan ignored it at all. "Don't listen to her nonsense, I'm just passing by." Suqing smiled sheepishly, while Feng Wan, who was beside her, didn't say anything to me, but made some movements with her mouth. I could tell that she was saying, hard-mouthed. In the following chat, Feng Wan kept chatting with Suqing about this and that. If you didn't know them, you would definitely think that they were close friends who had known each other for many years and had a deep relationship. When talking about sleeping together last night, Feng Wan changed the subject. "Sister Suqing, do you talk in your sleep when you sleep?" Suqing was stunned for a moment, then hesitated and said, "I didn't talk in my sleep last night, did I?" Judging from her reaction, it is likely that she really is talking in her sleep, and she knows it herself, so she asked this question. Feng Wan smiled and said, "Yes, Tilda." Then he looked up and glanced at me casually, and continued, "I heard you calling me brother in your dream." After Feng Wan finished speaking, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly became extremely strange. I was stunned and didn't know how to respond to this conversation, because I knew Feng Wan was not making it up, and I was worried that Suqing might have said something she shouldn't have said in her dream. Looking at Suqing again, her face was red. She looked at Feng Wan, then looked at me embarrassedly, and then said weakly to Feng Wan, "She just called my name, and didn't say anything else, it should be just a greeting or something." When Suqing said this, I couldn't help but want to cover my forehead, because she was just explaining the content of her dream, but in disguise she admitted that she dreamed of me and talked to me in her dream. In this way, the content of the dream is not very important, because it is enough to explain something. Feng Wan nodded as if to show that it was just as he expected, then he took a sip of milk, put the cup down, and said, "I'm full, I'm going to get some sleep, and then he went back to his room. Seeing Feng Wan's somewhat abnormal reaction, Su Qing also realized something and asked in a low voice, "Senior, did I say something wrong?" "No," I smiled and shook my head. "She probably didn't sleep well last night. Didn't you see the big dark circles under her eyes? You too." Su Qing smiled awkwardly after that, and then from Su Qing's description, I learned that she woke up around 3 or 4 in the morning, and found Feng Wan lying next to her, who was still awake. Feng Wan told Su Qing the whole story and why she appeared in my house, and even kept chatting with her until dawn. This is why both of them have such big dark circles under their eyes. "What did she talk to you about?" I asked curiously. "I just asked about some things that happened in college, about you," Su Qing said. "About me? You talked for 3 or 4 hours. Until dawn." Su Qing felt a little embarrassed, but finally nodded. Chapter 23. I want you to say something. After breakfast, I wanted to take Su Qing to school, but she refused. Before we left, she was still apologizing for her drunken behavior last night. If she knew what she said after drinking, I wonder how she would react. In the end, I just said I would take her to a place on the roadside where she could get a taxi, and she agreed. Just as we were leaving, I specifically said hello to Feng Wan, but there was no response. When I sent her to the roadside, neither of us spoke. When Su Qing got in the car, she looked back at me and said, "I didn't say anything weird last night, did I?" I thought about it, then shook my head. "No, you're cute when you're drunk." Su Qing was very embarrassed when she heard this. She smiled and said bye and got in the car. Yes, how could an innocent girl's true feelings be laughed at by others? Because I was delayed a little while waiting for the car with Su Qing, when we arrived at the company, almost everyone was already there. Yanshu, the boy, was standing at the door of the office with a straight body and a serious face. When he saw me come in, Sister Liu stood up and said, "Feng Chen happened to be here too. I would like to officially announce to everyone that Yanshu will be transferred to our department starting today. Please take care of him in the future." As everyone in the department applauded and welcomed him, the boy scratched his head and said, "I am just a newcomer. From now on, all the men in the department are my brothers, and all the women are my sisters. Feel free to ask for help if you have any questions, Tilda." After that, everyone burst into laughter. Sister Liu said to me, "From now on, Yanshu will be in your care." Then she pointed to the empty seat next to me and said, "From now on, that will be your workstation." "Okay, sister." Yanshu came over with a smile and put the things on the seat, then winked at me. "Brother, I will follow you from now on." I sat down and whispered, "Don't joke with me, my prince. After all, everyone in this office is still following your sister. Just don't mess around and take our jobs." Shatilder, Yanshu gestured to me with a bitter face, "Brother, keep your voice down. My relationship with my sister is only known to my sister, Lao Wu, the secretary, and you know that my sister asked Lao Wu to notify the HR about my coming to the department. Don't let it slip. My sister said that if I take advantage of my status to slack off, I will be the first one to be punished. I will punish you." I said with a smile, "That's good, so you don't get distracted and become a useless person all day long." Then Yanshu said, "The second one is to deal with you." What? 10,000 alpacas were running through my mind. What does this have to do with me? Yanshu looked innocent. "My sister said that since she asked you to take care of me, then that's your job. If you don't teach me well, then you're derelict in your job. In that case, isn't it normal for me to punish you?" I stared at Yanshu for half a minute without saying anything, and finally said, "Tell your sister that I don't want it anymore and want to return." Brother! Brother! You are my brother, don't play like this. If my sister knew that I was kicked out on the first day, she would go home and ask my dad to hang me up and beat me. After saying that, the guy squeezed his eyes hard a few times, but unfortunately his acting skills were so bad that no tears came out. "What are you two whispering about?" Just as I was about to chase him away, Liu Yang looked at us and said, "Nothing, I'm just trying to stay in touch with my brother." Yanshu turned around and said to Liu Yang with a smile, "It will be your turn soon, brother Liu." In order to avoid being talked about, I stopped joking around with this guy. Sherry said that it would probably not be that exaggerated to punish me, but she personally arranged the matter, and if anything went wrong with Yanshu, even if he was not fired, he would not have a good time in the company. But the only thing I couldn't understand was why she gave Yanshu to me and trusted me for no reason. In order to fulfill my responsibilities, I spent a whole day with Yang Shu to familiarize himself with the various personnel, division of labor, and responsibilities of the department. Then I decided to choose a relatively easy to handle client from among my own clients and give it to him. This guy had a good idea about it and he really studied hard. The morning passed quickly. At lunchtime, Yang Shu followed me to the cafeteria. Not long after we sat down, we saw Sherry and Mr. Wu come in. Then everyone in the cafeteria greeted her. I couldn't help but feel that the boss is the boss. When she came to us, her eyes intentionally or unintentionally glanced at me and Yang Shu. Then Yang Shu immediately stood up and shouted, "Hello, Mr. Yang." I could only stand up and nod to greet him. Sherry smiled and greeted everyone, and then asked Yang Shu casually, "How are you? Have you adapted to the new environment?" Yang Shu, who had just sat down, immediately stood up again and said, "I'm used to Mr. Yang. Brother Chen and the others are very caring towards me." Sherry nodded with satisfaction, and then she started to care about other colleagues. When she passed by me, she whispered, "Come to my office at 3 p.m. Then she left. Mr. Wu also smiled at me, patted my shoulder, and left with me. "Brother Chen, you didn't say bad things about me in front of my sister, did you?" Yang Shu looked at me seriously and asked. "I was thinking, you've been following me around all morning, and I don't have your sister's contact information, so I have no way to complain." I joked. Yang Shu also breathed a sigh of relief, and then pinched my shoulder with a fawning look. "If my sister asks you questions in the afternoon, remember to say good things for me." Originally, I thought Sherry wanted to see me because of Yang Shu, but it was not until I entered the office that I realized that I underestimated her and her real purpose in looking for me. "Please sit down." Sherry was still dressed as an office lady, but unlike yesterday's coldness, she looked a little less unfamiliar today. "Is Yang Shu still behaving well?" Sherry looked at me while leaning against her desk, holding a cup of tea. "Very good, that's the truth. Like I said yesterday, he has always been very responsible in his work." Sherry nodded, and then continued, "Are you curious about why I asked you to take him? Or, have you ever scolded me behind my back?" I was a little surprised. Although the woman in front of me was young, she was the boss of the company after all. She actually said such words to an ordinary employee like me. I didn't scold her, but I was really curious. "You should know that Yang Shu said a lot of nonsense in front of me, many of which were about you." Obviously, Sherry was talking about Yang Shu's pimping to bring me together. I looked at Sherry with surprise, not sure if it was an illusion, but after our eyes met, she didn't evade, but there was a hint of unnaturalness, but it was only a flash. "Yang Shu is not very reasonable, but from what he said about you, I think you are very reliable. Whether it's as a person or how you deal with things." In order to prove whether the person Yang Shu described is really who he said, I also specially asked someone to observe you. I didn't show much expression on my face, but I was still shocked. He had observed me. Through whom? Just as I was sorting out the details and thinking about who had observed me recently, Sherry said calmly, "I know you are curious about who I arranged, but don't guess. You don't know and you won't be able to guess." After hearing her words, I knew that I couldn't find it at all. I could only ask her another question: what is the purpose of doing this? "I want you to say something, Tilda." Chapter 24: Problems and Choices. One of my words. A thought flashed through my mind, but it felt a little unrealistic. "That's right," Sherry looked into my eyes and said slowly, "in the future at the company, I need you to stand by my side, okay or not?" "Excuse me, but when you say your side, are you targeting Yang Shu, or?" "Yang Shu is my brother." Sherry didn't say anything more, but I already had the answer in my mind. If nothing unexpected happened, Sherry would take action against the company's top management. And judging from the seniority and the degree of threat to Sherry, could it be Wu Guanhai? This woman, she made such a big move right after returning? Seeing that I didn't say anything, Sherry shrugged and said, "Don't think I'm unkind. Some things are not that simple. I will tell you slowly. What if I say no? You will leave the company tomorrow." Her answer was very straightforward, without any hesitation or emotion. This woman is really cruel and ruthless. Don't think that you will offend others. With your current position, you can't play any role. What you need to do now is to guide Yang Shu well and make him calm down. As for what to do next, I will tell you when the time comes. Until now, I still feel that everything in front of me is not real, just like an ordinary gangster in a movie, who is suddenly called by the boss and told, "From today on, you are my confidant Tilda." I still didn't say anything, and Sherry was very straightforward. "You don't have to answer now. I'll give you an afternoon to think about it. But no matter what, I hope that only the two of us know about today's conversation. You can go now. Also, call Yarn Shu in." I nodded, turned and left the office. As expected, when I got off the elevator to the 8th floor, I saw Yarn Shu walking back and forth at the elevator entrance as if he was lost. "Yarn Shu." I called out, and Yarn Shu, who had reacted, immediately walked over quickly. "Brother, what did my sister say to you?" "Nothing, just asking how you performed Tilda." That's it?" "Brother, you must be fooling me. I'm just unreliable, not stupid." I smiled and didn't explain further. "Your sister wants you to go upstairs." Yarn Shu got on the elevator with a helpless look on his face. Half an hour later, he came back with an even worse look than before. After he sat down, I couldn't help but laugh and asked, "Getting criticized again?" "It's not that I'm criticizing you. My sister said two things. As long as you said you were not satisfied with my performance, she would let me get out of the company. Isn't this a good thing? You were just trying to sneak out anyway. My sister, she was talking about you. FCK me. This bitch, she brought me along too. And the second one. She said she'd like to treat you to dinner tonight. The three of us will go together. Hongmen feast." I couldn't help but think of these words. I'm afraid I won't have peace in the company from now on. There were a lot of things to do today, so it was time to get off work soon. Yarn Shu went downstairs early and wanted to drive himself, but a few minutes later Yarn Shu sent me a text message, "Garage B1, minute D." I arrived at the garage and heard two beeps after walking a few steps. I turned around and saw a long red Audi next to me. It was the one Yarn Shu had given me. I sat in the passenger seat and found that it was Sherry driving and Yarn Shu was sitting in the back. How about I drive? After all, it's not appropriate to let the boss drive, so after thinking about it, I spoke up. "No need, there are not so many rules." After saying that, he started the car and drove out. We soon arrived at the place, which was a relatively niche Chinese restaurant. They also booked a private room inside. I looked around and found that although the place was small, the environment was quite elegant. "Brother, isn't this place nice? My sister is cute and is here." Perhaps because he felt Yarn Shu was being a bit long-winded, Sherry looked back and the boy immediately shut up. It seemed that Yarn Shu had to rely on his sister to deal with him. After entering the private room, a woman came in and greeted Sherry with a smile. Sherry also nodded. It was obvious that she was an acquaintance. "Is it the same today?" the woman said. "Yes, and then get 2 cases of beer," Sherry said lightly. "Beer?" The woman taking the order was surprised that Sherry ordered beer, then glanced at me casually. "Okay, I'll ask them to bring it over." "Sister, are you drinking today?" "Did I say I wanted to drink?" Sherry casually flipped through the menu on the table. "You too drink?" Yarn Shu looked surprised. I am also a little confused. What is this woman planning? Soon the dishes were served, and they looked quite exquisite. Then a young man brought in 2 boxes of beer. The woman who had ordered the dishes in front also came in with a pot of tea and smiled at Sherry. "Here's the tea for you." Sherry poured herself a cup of tea and then looked at the two of us. Yarn Shu was very considerate and picked up 2 bottles of beer and handed them to me, then picked up 2 more bottles for himself. After all their wine was poured, Yarn Shu raised his glass and asked for one, and Sherry also raised her teacup, and the 3 of us clinked glasses together. The meal lasted 2 hours. Sherry, who rarely acted like a high-ranking official in the company, talked to me frankly about some of the more obscure things about the company. From Sherry's words, I also got a few key issues. 1, because the health of Sherry and Yarn Shu's father, who was the founder of the company, was getting worse and worse. Sherry was ordered to come back from abroad when Yarn Shu was unable to carry the banner. 2, during the years when Wu Guanhai was acting as the general manager of the company, he kept making small moves behind the scenes, and many important personnel had almost become Wu faction. 3, if Sherry's father couldn't hold on, the company would most likely have to change dynasties. After listening to Sherry's words, I finally understood why she was so anxious to let Yarn Shu join the company, and then arranged for me to take him with me so hastily. It was ridiculous and helpless for a boss of a company to have no one around him after returning, and finally had to find an imaginary brother-in-law who his younger brother had been trying to match up with all day and whom he had never even met to help. Sister. This was probably the first time that Yanshu heard these things from his sister. Even though he was usually cheerful and joking, it didn't mean he was stupid. After he opened his mouth, he didn't know what to say. Sherry smiled for the first time since I met her. She picked up her teacup and gently touched Yanshu's wine glass on the table. Then she reached out and touched Yanshu's head, saying softly, "Don't let your sister down, and don't let your father down." Yanshu lowered his head so that his expression could not be seen clearly. He then picked up the wine glass and drank it all in one gulp. Then he turned sideways and wiped his eyes fiercely with his arm. Then he turned back around, looking as if nothing had happened. He smiled and picked up Sherry's bowl, saying that he would go outside to serve her some rice. Yanshu is actually quite nice, but he is a bit carefree and playful. I said to Sherry when Yanshu was not around. "You talked so much tonight, I think he must have listened to you." "I hope so." Sherry looked at me quietly. "Next, let's talk about you. The problem during the day." "Yes, and what would you choose?" Chapter 25, Stinky Man. "I'm not interested in the power struggle among your top management." After saying this, Sherry's expression did not change, still waiting for my next words. "But I have a good impression of Yanshu, so I can accept your proposal, but it is limited to not violating the law and morality, and it is within my ability." After hearing what I said, Sherry raised her teacup to me and clinked it with mine before saying, "Deal. As for your salary in the company and future plans, I'll let you know once I've considered it." Just like that, I, who could barely be considered to have turned over a new leaf, stood aside with the company's boss. Yanshu, who had just opened the door to the private room, saw Sherry raising her glass and asked in a weird way, "Have you agreed to be my brother-in-law?" I held up the wine glass awkwardly, not knowing whether to drink or not. I looked at Sherry again. Although she drank the tea calmly with a blank expression, her ears were slightly red. Then she said to Yanshu, "If you can't shut up, you should live in the company and don't go home so that my parents and I can see you." Knowing that there was a misunderstanding, Yanshu sat down obediently, handed the bowl to Sherry, and then muttered quietly, "You never take the initiative to clink glasses with men. It's normal for me to misunderstand what happened just now." Papa. Sherry was really angry now. The next second, Yanshu raised his butt that had just sat down, snatched my bowl and slipped out, "I'll go get Brother Chen a bowl of rice too." After Yanshu's disturbance, the atmosphere in the private room with only two people was a little awkward. What was even more awkward was that Yanshu was afraid that Sherry would be angry and didn't dare to come in. He stayed outside for 10 minutes before he came back to the private room. During this time, Sherry didn't say a word, which gave me a headache. After Yanshu came back, I quickly found an excuse to change the topic, then filled Yanshu's wine glass to liven up the atmosphere. As a result, this guy obviously misunderstood and kept drinking in high spirits. In the end, both of us drank too much. I can't remember how much I drank. I only remember that Yanshu called the boss to get more wine. After that, I only remember sporadic fragments. One moment, there was a voice asking where my home was, and the next moment, there was a scream, "Where are you putting your hands?" And then it seemed that I was slapped again, and then it seemed that I heard someone scolding me. Anyway, when I opened my eyes again, it was already the next morning. Feng Wan stood beside the bed, looking unhappy. "What time is it?" Seeing me wake up, Feng Wan threw my phone at me with dissatisfaction, and then muttered, "You drank so much, I'll drink you to death next time." I checked my phone and it was 6 a.m. Luckily I didn't oversleep. I knew I was in the wrong, so I didn't bother with her sarcasm. I asked again, "How did I get back last night?" Feng Wan brought a cup of hot milk and placed it on my bedside. He didn't want to pay attention to me at first, but when he saw me with my hand on my forehead and looking like I had a headache and felt uncomfortable, he said, "You are attracting a lot of men out there, and you still ask me." After that, he left my room. What? Attracting bees and butterflies? From what Feng Wan said, it was obvious that a woman sent me back. Could it be Sherry? Because Feng Wan's interview was in the afternoon, I didn't have to prepare breakfast, so I continued to lie down for a while, got up, washed up, and went directly to the company. It was almost half an hour after the clock in time that Yanshu rushed in with messy hair. "You're late on your second day at work, kid," you have a bright future tilde, Liu Yang teased with a smile. Sister Liu glanced at Yang Shu and said, I'll record your request for leave for half an hour today. Be careful next time. There are many people in the company. If you make the same mistake again next time, I'll just assess you tilde. Yang Shu nodded tactfully. Damn it, I overslept. Yang Shu sat in his seat, breathing heavily and wiping the sweat from his forehead. Didn't your sister call you? I whispered. I shouted, and after I agreed, I accidentally fell asleep again. Yang Shu scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. I took the opportunity to make coffee and called Yang Shu to the tea room. How did I get home last night? Brother, I'm already so drunk, how would I know? Your sister sent me back. That should be the case. Otherwise, how would you go back? Yang Shu replied. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and looked at me and said, Brother Chen, when I got drunk yesterday, did you bully my sister? I was about to slap him on the head when I heard that, but then I thought about how he was a prince after all, so I held back and said, bullying your sister? What nonsense are you talking about? When I got up this morning, the nanny said that my sister seemed very angry when she came home last night, and she even called him a stinky man. Stinky man? What does it have to do with me? Think about it, we were the only two men there last night. Then maybe you have offended your sister. No, Yang Shu said confidently, whenever I got into trouble, my sister would beat me up. Suddenly, I felt guilty for no reason. Could it be that I really did something inappropriate to Sherry last night after getting drunk? No way. I thought about it carefully and vaguely remembered that someone slapped me. Thinking of this, I ignored the strange poplar tree behind me and went directly to the bathroom. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a faint red mark on the left side of my face. Although it was not obvious, I felt a slight burning sensation when I touched it with my hand. Damn, was I slapped? I calmed down. I was more concerned about what I had done to deserve the slap than the slap. Should I ask Sherry? If there was any rude behavior, asking would be a death sentence. Not asking. I would not accept that. Just when I was struggling, Yang Shu came over. I suddenly had an idea. I couldn't ask, so I asked Yang Shu to hint at it. No matter how vicious this woman is, she wouldn't be so cruel to my brother. Even if she was, it's none of my business. I did it right away. I waved Yang Shu over and said to him, go upstairs to find your sister and report your work in the past few days. Also, ask her if she has anything to do recently. If she asks, you can say that I thank her for sending me home last night and asked you to ask her. I've been listening to you telling me all this and that these past 2 days, and my head is still a mess. There's nothing to report, tilde. Then go and say hello to your sister. Let her see that you have made progress and feel relieved. Have you forgotten what your sister said last night? I lied. Yang Shu nodded when he heard this and went to the elevator. Less than 10 minutes later, he appeared in front of me again. Brother, it's different from what you said, tilde. What's wrong? I was doing what you told me to do, and she seemed quite satisfied. But just when I mentioned that you thanked her for sending you home, she threw a ball of paper at me and told me to get out. Yang Shu had a puzzled look on his face, and my heart sank completely. Such a big reaction basically proved that I somehow offended her last night when I was drunk. Now that I'm being noticed by such a beautiful woman, I'm in trouble. Chapter 26 Because You Hate. In order to avoid bad luck, I decided to stay out of the spotlight for the next few days and try to avoid Sherry as much as possible. Sure enough, I met her again in the cafeteria during lunch. This time, she walked past me with a cold face, and even passed by Yang Shu, who was smiling. Brother, are you talking about my sister? Am I a little weird? Yang Shu realized it late and didn't find any problem at all. Go ask yourself, tilde, I said unhappily. I won't go, otherwise I will get scolded again. Yang Shu shook his head and started to eat again. Looking at Yang Shu's appearance, I couldn't help but sigh, it's good to be brainless. Without a brain, where do the worries come from, tilde? After lunch, I was planning to take a nap, but I got a call from my dad. The first thing he said was to ask me if I had bullied Feng Wan, which confused me. After asking, I learned that my parents knew that Feng Wan was going to a second company for an interview, so they called her at noon to show their concern. But she was unhappy in every way, she said, and she even complained about me in front of my parents. On the phone, I heard my mom specifically say that she would wait for Xiao Wan to come home in the evening and ask me to coax her. I was confused until I hung up the phone. Was Feng Wan unhappy? Was it because of the drinking last night? No matter what, my parents had already spoken, so I sent Feng Wan a message: remember to go home tonight. I'll cook. But the girl still ignored me. It was less than 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the work at hand was basically finished. Yang Shu, who was very sleepy, just lay on the table to catch up on his sleep. With nothing to do, he thought about it and sent a message to Suqing: "Are you busy today?" Not long after I sent the message, I immediately received her reply. What's wrong? I was a little curious why she replied with 3 exclamation marks. This is the first time you've taken the initiative to look for me. She then sent a happy emoticon. If you don't like it, I won't look for you next time. I don't know why, but every time I chat with Suqing, I like this feeling of soft bullying. Senior, you will have no friends if you do this, tilde. Seeing Suqing's reply, I could imagine her frowning and speechless face when she saw my reply. Then, she sent me a photo of Daoshan Lake, which, judging from the angle of view, should have been taken from Tongshan Tower. The weather is great this week, tilde. Senior, I'm sorry to have caused you trouble the day before yesterday. Are you free this weekend? I'll treat you to a meal, tilde. For no reason, I thought of Suqing's mumbling to herself on the roadside the night before, and then I replied, I'll treat you, tilde. You decide the time. After hesitating for a moment, I edited another sentence. Also, I haven't watched a movie for a long time. If it's convenient, you can go to a movie with me after dinner. This time, it took a full minute for Suqing to reply to the message. It was a voice message. Okay, how about Saturday night, tilde, and in the background noise of the voice message, another girl's voice could be heard. Hey, Susu, what are you dancing for? I smiled and said, okay. Brother, are you chatting with your sister-in-law? Just as I was replying on my phone, Yang Shu woke up at some point and stretched his neck to peek at my screen. I covered the phone, looked at him and said, who did you learn this voyeuristic hobby from? I didn't. He raised one hand to swear, I just woke up and saw you smiling so lewdly. I picked up a book and pretended to throw it out, but the boy immediately stood up and walked out the door, saying, Brother, don't bother you, I can get out of here by myself. Liu Yang watched him escape, then smiled at me and said, this guy is really a top-notch guy. Sister Meng also nodded, expressing her deep agreement. The best. When you know his identity, I wonder if you can still laugh, tilde. After get off work, as soon as I opened the door when I got home, I saw Feng Wan lying sideways on the sofa, cutting her toenails. When she saw me come back, she lowered her head and continued her unfinished project. Why didn't you reply to my message? I asked while changing clothes. Seeing that she still ignored me, I had no choice but to use my ultimate move, tilde. Why is there such a strong smell of feet in the room? Did you not wash your feet? Sure enough, Feng Wan, who always pays attention to cleanliness and personal image, glared at me like a kitten whose tail was stepped on, and said, your feet are the ones that smell. I wash them every day. Really? Did I smell it wrong? I took a deep breath in an exaggerated manner, it seems not. Feng Wan continued to lower her head. It was probably because her little finger was difficult to cut, so she kept changing her posture. I sat down on the sofa and took the nail clippers from her hand. What are you doing? Feng Wan thought I was going to tease her again, and her tone was very dissatisfied. But I didn't say anything, just moved to her side, pressed her smooth instep, and helped her cut her instep. What are you doing? This time, Feng Wan's tone became much colder, and there was a hint of nervousness and helplessness. I'll help you. Isn't it difficult for you to cut your toenails? I said, it was the same when you were a child. The first time I helped you cut your toenails, you were ticklish and kicked and moved around a lot, so I accidentally cut your flesh. You cried for a long time. When Feng Wan heard me talk about the past, his expression became a little dazed, and then he didn't say anything else. The two of them just sat quietly on the sofa, leaving only the clicking sound of the nail clippers. Another one, tilde. Feng Wan obediently put her other leg on my leg. When she was done cutting her legs, she wanted to pull her legs away, but I held her down. She struggled for a while, but I still held her legs firmly, then looked at her and said, you're done cutting, now you can tell me why you ignored me. Feng Wan obviously didn't want to answer, but it seemed a bit inappropriate for me to press him down on the sofa. After hesitating for a long time, Feng Wan looked at me with a straight face and said, "Because you're annoying. Hateful." It was the first time I heard someone say that about me. Why? Feng Wan struggled to break free from me, put on his slippers and went to the bathroom. There's no reason. I just hate you. Because I'm drunk. To be honest, I can't think of any other reasonable reason besides this. After saying that, Feng Wan came out of the bathroom and looked straight at me, and then just said to me, "You are a piece of wood." Here we go again. How many times have you called me a blockhead? It's really like what the lyrics say, don't try to guess what a girl is thinking. In this world, if a girl is angry, the reasons for the anger would probably be thicker than the Xinhua dictionary. Chapter 27, Outspoken. It wasn't until dinner was ready and Feng Wan sat down at the table that I asked again, "How was the interview today?" Feng Wan used chopsticks to pick at the food in the bowl and said listlessly, "I don't know." Seeing my puzzled look, he added, "They just told me to come back and wait for news. It seems like there's no hope, but it's strange. During the interview, other people took 10 minutes, but they interviewed me for half an hour. The interview took a long time, but the result was not clearly stated. That is indeed a bit strange." Feng Wan nodded. "It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's okay. Just wait for 2 days and see." I consoled him, "You've been interviewing for the past 2 days and you're pretty tired. Take a good rest." As they were talking, Feng Wan's cell phone rang. The girl picked it up, looked at it, and then answered it. Tang Tang tilde yes, really. Okay. Feng Wan became energetic after answering the phone, then looked at me and said, "Tang Tang, come and visit me these 2 days and stay at my house for 2 days, is that okay?" I nodded, then said, "I'm full," to Feng Wan, and went back to my room to chat on the phone with Tang Xinwei for a long time. The next day after get off work, I just walked to the door and heard a voice from inside the house, "There seems to be someone outside, go see if it's my brother who's back." The next second, the door was opened and a sweet smiling face appeared in front of me, "Senior, you're back tilde." I smiled and greeted her. After entering the room, Tang Xinwei took the initiative to pour a glass of water and handed it to me. Then I heard Feng Wan's voice, "Damn Tang Tang, why are you so attentive?" Tang Xinwei didn't care at all, and still said to Feng Wan with a smile, "When you stay at someone's house, you should be aware of your status. You eat and drink for free, but can't you be more diligent? Or is someone jealous?" Hearing this, Feng Wan, who was somewhat furious, came out of the kitchen, holding a piece of pork ribs in his hand and stuffed it directly into Tang Xinwei's mouth. "Eating so much still can't shut you up. I told you not to talk nonsense. Ouch, be gentle." Tang Xinwei was dragged to the kitchen by Feng Wan's ears, and then the door was closed. The two of them were laughing and chatting about something. After a while, the two of them brought out the prepared food. I was busy all day, and I couldn't help but feel my appetite increased when I smelled the fragrance of the food on the table. Later at the dinner table, the atmosphere was very lively because of Tang Xinwei's arrival. Feng Wan also talked a lot, and listened to Tang Xinwei talking about a lot of Feng Wan's embarrassing moments in college. After dinner, Tang Xinwei took the initiative to pull Feng Wan to the kitchen to clean up. As Feng Wan approached the kitchen, he specifically said to me, "Go take a shower first." Take a shower? I was stunned. What is this? Oh, you are so stupid, Tang Tang is a girl. If we wash first, is it appropriate for a man to use the bathroom that a girl just used? I nodded, understanding Feng Wan's thoughts, but then I thought, it seems that most of the time when we are at home, Feng Wan washes first. Thinking of this, I suddenly felt a strange feeling in my heart, but I couldn't tell what was wrong. After washing up, Feng Wan went in first, then came out after a while, and finally Tang Xinwei. After Tang Xinwei went into the bathroom, Feng Wan stayed by the sofa, looking at me intentionally or unintentionally. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I asked, "What are you doing?" Feng Wan immediately turned his head away, "Nothing." I was confused. I stood up to get a glass of water. The girl immediately asked in surprise, "What are you doing?" Realizing that I was exaggerating, she lowered her voice and asked, "Why are you getting up?" "I'm pouring a glass of water." "You should be asking me, right? Why are you making such a fuss?" Feng Wan curled his lips. I'm afraid you'll peek at Tang Tang taking a bath. Pardon. Say it again? I was so angry that I asked, what did you say? Unexpectedly, Feng Wan not only did not know he was wrong, but he also puffed out his chest and said to me confidently, it's not like you haven't done it before. You have a criminal record. Hearing this, I realized that this girl was still upset about the time I accidentally ran into her taking a shower in the early morning last time. That was an accident. Feng Wan's pretty face had already turned red, but she still insisted, I don't care, you just watched it anyway. Just as the two were on the verge of a fight, Tang Xinwei changed into pajamas and walked out of the bathroom with her face red from the steam. What are you looking at? I didn't say anything. Feng Wan, feeling guilty, lowered his voice and said weakly, nothing, nothing. Tang Xinwei, who obviously saw that Feng Wan was hiding something, just smiled and nodded in realization. Then she looked at me and said, Senior, there are 2 bedrooms. Which one is for you and Xiao Wan at night, and which one is mine? I was just about to explain when Feng Wan, who was a little slow in thinking, pointed to her room and said, you live in this room. Tang Xinwei walked up to Feng Wan with a smile, and then said in a very teasing tone, oh I know, I live in this room, and you and Senior live in the room next to it Feng Wan realized that she was fooled and looked at me in panic, what nonsense are you talking about? You and I live in this room, come in, and I'll tear your mouth off. I'll teach you a lesson on nonsense. Feng Wan pulled Tang Xinwei into the room and closed the door. Then the sounds of Feng Wan's fighting and Tang Xinwei's laughter and begging for mercy were heard from the room. I shook my head. These 2 girls are such a funny couple. Ignoring them playing around, I was just about to go to the study when I received 2 messages from Su Qing. One asked me if I had slept yet, and the other was a screenshot of a list of movies that were playing in theaters recently. I took a quick look and saw romance, literature, horror, and science fiction. What kind of movies do you like to watch? I replied. Art film, but I want to try horror this time. Okay, remember to bring tissues, and don't wipe your snot on my clothes if you cry. No, I close my eyes when I'm scared After chatting for a while, Su Qing said she wanted to go to bed early to get enough rest for the weekend meeting, so the 2 of us ended the chat. I was also ready to read a book, but soon, Feng Wan's door opened, and Tang Xinwei came out, holding some snacks and yogurt and going back to her room. When she saw me in the study, she came over curiously. Senior, do you like reading? Tang Xinwei looked around the study room. I saw you had so many books this afternoon. Xiao Wan said they were all yours. That's amazing. It's just a habit. This study is really nice and cozy. Warm. This is the first time I heard someone use the word warm to describe a study. I laughed. Then Tang Xinwei looked back at Feng Wan's room cautiously, came over and whispered with a smile, Senior, this is not what I said, it was Xiao Wan who said it Feng Wan, do you think this study is cozy? Tang Tang, are you lost? I'm starving Feng Wan's voice came again, urging Tang Xinwei to bring the snacks in quickly. Tang Xinwei replied, I'll be right there and then said with a smile, I'm not kidding, Xiao Wan said it herself this afternoon, because here, she can stay with you quietly. After that, she shouted, honey, I'm coming and returned to Feng Wan's room. In the study, my heartbeat suddenly quickened because of Tang Xinwei's outspokenness and also because of an unbelievable thought that popped up in my mind. Chapter 28 Dating. In the next 2 days, Feng Wan and Tang Xinwei slept in together every day. When I left, they were still asleep. Then in the afternoon and evening, they posted pictures of themselves having milk tea, the beach, and the night market on their WeChat moments. They had a lot of fun. Saturday came quickly. We had originally agreed to meet in the evening, but Su Qing said that the school would be closed in the afternoon, so I rushed over early to pick her up. Looking at Su Qing, who was obviously dressed up and wearing light makeup, I smiled and said, let's walk around the school first Su Qing also agreed happily. The 2 of us walked slowly on the campus, making me feel like I was back a few years ago. In another month, you can see redbud flowers all over the ground again, but it will rain frequently and the weather will be a bit cold. Su Qing said. Yes, the redbud flowers in the school are always beautiful every year. After a while, the 2 walked across the grass and came to the bench beside Daoshan Lake. I looked at Daoshan Lake in front of me with a dazed look, and Suqing looked at me from time to time. I found it funny, so I said to her, "Just say whatever you want to say, there's nothing to hide." "Are you remembering a lot of things?" Suqing thought for a moment and asked tactfully. "It would be a lie to say I don't have any. I've been here for 4 years and I'm too familiar with every tree and blade of grass here." I turned to look at her and said, "Did you find that diary here?" Suqing was a little caught off guard, and she stammered for a long time without answering. Seeing her cute look, I couldn't help but touch her head. "Do you know that when you are drunk, you will talk nonsense?" The next second, Suqing was stunned, but her face turned red. Did I say something nonsense that day?" I nodded. "Yes, we talked for more than an hour, and said everything that should and shouldn't be said." After hearing my answer, Suqing leaned over like an ostrich, covered her face with her hands and buried her head between her legs, and refused to get up no matter how I persuaded her. Finally, I did some ideological work for a full 10 minutes before Suqing got up, and then she was too shy to even look at me. "I don't mean to make fun of you. On the contrary, you are a straightforward and kind girl." Hearing what I said, Suqing whispered, "When you say this, are you just giving out nice guys like others say? Where do all these weird ideas come from in your little head?" Just as the two were chatting more and more ambiguously, a burst of laughter came from the side. Turning around, I saw a few students standing 20 meters behind me, looking at us with gossipy faces. "Teacher Su, is this your boyfriend? So handsome," a girl shouted exaggeratedly. Suqing, who was already shy, blushed and didn't know where to put her hands. She didn't have the dignity of an educator at all. I didn't say anything, but smiled and greeted them. Then Suqing immediately stood up and pulled me away, pointing at those students and saying, "You guys are finished." Unexpectedly, the students were not afraid, and one boy even whistled harder. It wasn't until we got in the car that Suqing finally lost her temper. She was like an angry Snoopy and punched me on the shoulder a few times, but it didn't hurt me at all. "It's all your fault. Why didn't you explain just now? Now they all misunderstand me." "Misunderstanding? Misunderstanding of what? I mistakenly thought you were my boyfriend." Suqing stopped halfway through her sentence. When she realized that I did it on purpose, she punched me again, feeling embarrassed and angry. "It's just a misunderstanding, I have nothing to fear. Besides, I don't stay in school every day." Seeing me start to act like a scoundrel, Suqing was helpless and simply sat in the passenger seat with her mouth pouted. Suqing was still very quiet until we got to the dining area. I knew that she was embarrassed, not angry. Because we had to rush to the movie, the dinner time was a little rushed. When we arrived at the mall, the movie was about to start in 10 minutes. Suqing bought a bucket of popcorn and 2 drinks, and then sat next to me quietly waiting for the ticket check. After a while, I found that Suqing next to me, originally just looking at me from time to time, but suddenly, she laughed without any warning. "What's wrong? You're so happy all of a sudden." "No," Suqing shook her head, then looked at me and said with a smile, "This is the first time I've watched a movie alone with a boy since I was a child." Seeing my surprised expression, Suqing nodded again as if to confirm. "It is indeed my honor, Tilder," I said sincerely. "No, I am very happy myself." Then he added in a low voice, "As long as I am in front of you, I am very happy." The movie started very quickly. Because it was a 3D movie, everyone was given a pair of glasses. The moment I checked my ticket and entered the theater, the dark environment made me feel uncomfortable. The next second, a little hand held mine. I didn't say anything, but held her hand and led her inside. Then, with the dim light of my phone, I found the corresponding seat. I didn't let go of Suqing's hand until we sat down. Suqing also lowered her head, as if nothing had happened, just like a small episode before the movie started. The movie started soon. It tells the story of a family of 3 who went on vacation in the mountains and lived in an old house with a history of more than 100 years. However, many strange events happened in the old house, which eventually turned into murder. Due to the domestic film review, the real murderer had nothing to do with ghosts, but the tense and exciting plot and the thrilling soundtrack really added a lot of points to the movie. As the story continued to advance in the middle, it also caused screams from the audience. I observed Suqing next to me. She could barely hold on at the beginning, but after only 10 minutes, she turned sideways and grabbed my hand unconsciously, and held it tightly. She squinted her eyes and watched, and when she saw the horrifying scene, she even closed her eyes. After watching the movie, Su Qing's palms were all sweaty. She was still sitting in her chair, a little shocked, until the movie ended and the lights came on. Then she looked at me pitifully and said, "If I had known, I would have covered my ears while watching it." The horror movie had a great after effect on Su Qing. She had insisted that she could go home alone before the movie started, but now she had completely lost her previous arrogance and nodded repeatedly when I said I would take her home. At about 11 o'clock, we arrived at the residential area where Su Qing lived. After getting off the car, she looked at the road ahead with only dim street lights. Su Qing was a little hesitant. I understood what she meant and stopped the car, then offered to accompany her downstairs. Su Qing smiled happily when she heard that, and followed behind me holding my sleeve. The two walked quietly for a while, and Su Qing said, "Senior, is this considered a date?"